Chapter 2678, Not using divine power doesn't count as a win. 2. It was only after the crowd was called to a halt that they realized what had happened. To be honest, they didn't expect the battle to escalate. They only deeply regretted it after the battle. Fuck. He had actually forgotten the important matter. Not only that, they even let Leng Ruoxue watch the show and laugh at them. The most infuriating thing was that their battle had been called to a stop, and it was all thanks to Leng Ruoxue that they were able to avoid a major disaster. In an instant, everyone's hearts were filled with all kinds of gloominess and entanglement. He had never felt this way before, and it was unbearable. Everyone's face turned even redder. Leng Ruoxue blinked her eyes and put on an innocent smile. What's wrong? Why are you fighting? Your face is as red as a monkey's butt. After she finished speaking, she even deliberately covered her mouth to laugh, making everyone so angry that one Buddha was born and 2 Buddhas rose to heaven. All of them seemed to be so angry that smoke was about to come out of their bodies. After she was done laughing, she said guiltily, "I'm sorry, I shouldn't have laughed at you. But I still want to say that killing each other is the worst thing to do. It will affect unity." "You bastard! Who's killing each other?" The leader of the 4 alliances, who had a bad temper, was the first to speak up. "You don't have any." The evidence was still on him. "You can't lie with your eyes open." Leng Ruoxue's expression became even more innocent. After hearing what she said, the alliance masters of the 4 alliances felt their electricity run out. They could only glare at Leng Ruoxue with a face full of hatred. Their gazes were like those of a venomous snake, causing one to tremble in fear. Leng Ruoxue was glared at like a venomous snake, but her face did not turn red and her heart did not skip a beat. She merely glanced at the other party indifferently and asked, "Be a good baby, understand? Come, now tell big sister, why did you kill each other?" These words made everyone speechless. The gloominess in their hearts deepened, especially when they saw the other party calling herself Big Sister. Did she have to be so shameless? Whose sister are you? Who has a sister like you who gloats at others' misfortune? Everyone couldn't help but secretly praise him. "Little girl, have you seen enough? Don't waste any more time, I'm going to deal with you now." The leader of the 3 alliances, Hua, roared. It was too embarrassing. He had never been so embarrassed in his life, especially in front of his opponent. Hearing this, Leng Ruoxue smiled faintly and said in a wrong tone, "I don't think I'm the one wasting time." "Good. It's me. It's us, alright. Let's start fighting now." The alliance masters of the 3 alliances were furious and roared. Leng Ruoxue nodded her head in satisfaction. "Come on." However, Alliance Master 4 was not satisfied. Seeing that the 2 were about to attack, he quickly stopped them and said angrily, "Why should I let you go first? I'm going to make the first move." "You? Do you still want the other party to laugh at us?" The Alliance Master of the 3rd Alliance gritted his teeth. He had just realized that the Alliance Master of the 4th Alliance was even more shameless than him. Hearing this, although the 4 alliances' leaders hesitated, they still straightened their necks and shouted. "I don't care, I'm going to make the first move. Don't snatch. There's still a chance. It doesn't matter who makes the first move." Leng Ruoxue smiled and became the peacemaker. When the alliance masters of the 3 alliances heard this, their faces darkened. "Thanks fuck. What the hell is this?" The 2 of them were fighting for the right to make the first move, but the other party became the good guy. At this moment, he had never felt so depressed before. "I'll let you make the first move, alright?" The alliance masters of the 3 alliances had surrendered. If they continued to argue with this idiot, the Ascender Alliance would lose all its face before the fight even started. It could be said that compared to the 4 alliance masters, he still had some brains and had not completely lost his mind. Otherwise, he would not have been able to become the alliance master of the 3rd alliance and forcibly suppress the 4 alliance masters. As for the fourth alliance master, who had been holding back for a long time, when he heard that the third alliance master had given in, he was like a rooster who had won a battle, holding his head high and gnashing his teeth in hatred. Little girl, your opponent is me. The leaders of the four alliances emphasized this before the battle. I know. In fact, you guys can attack together. Len Ruoxue suddenly suggested. No. Two opposing voices rang out at the same time. Len Ruoxue was puzzled. Why not? Wouldn't they have a better chance of winning if they attacked together? How could she know that the two in front of her were treating her as a stepping stone to climb up the ladder and wanted to step on her to get to the top? Then, let's do it one by one. Seeing that she couldn't figure it out, Len Ruoxue didn't want to. Originally, she had wanted to let her babies out to practice their claws, but since the other party wanted to come one by one, it seemed that they didn't need to show themselves. However, her precious little beasts were very smart. After they sensed Len Ruoxue's thoughts, they transmitted their voices to her and begged, Master, let us go out and join in the fun. We promise we won't use our claws. Well, just watch the battle up close and feel the atmosphere. Ah. All right. Len Ruoxue was speechless. Trying to feel the atmosphere? To think they could come up with such an excuse. However, since her own beast had a request, as its master, she naturally had to do her best to satisfy it. Thus, with a thought, a few little beasts were moved out. After thinking about it, Li Zhong and the others were also moved out. Let's just experience the atmosphere of the venue together. Len Ruoxue's movements when she moved everyone out of the house were extremely smooth. However, when the Ascender Alliance members saw so many people suddenly appear beside her, they were all stunned. Although the other party didn't have many people, it was enough to make them dumbfounded. Because they had no idea where these people had come from. They're my god brother and my subordinates. I didn't ask them to come out to fight with you. I just wanted them to experience the divine realm. They're not going to join the battle. Seeing that the other party was very surprised, Len Ruoxue was afraid that they would misunderstand, so she quickly explained. Li Zhong was even more cooperative as he echoed, well, only watch. We won't participate in the battle. Although he said that, he couldn't help but break out in a cold sweat. That. Could he say that it was also very dangerous for them to watch the battle? In the mobile house just now, their darling, that quick-tongued little fellow, had already told them about the strength of these people. They were all existences that they could not catch up with even if they tried to, and they had to look up to. Although it was very rare for them to watch a battle between experts up close with their strength, when this rare action was accompanied by danger, they didn't feel so good. However, it was hard to get off after riding a tiger, and they couldn't let Xue Er's name be tarnished. Now that things had come to this, they had to continue watching. With this thought in mind, although Li Zhong and the others were somewhat worried, they didn't show it on their faces. After hearing their explanation, the four alliance masters couldn't help but ask, where did they come from? They've been staying in my house. Len Ruoxue spoke bluntly and didn't hide anything at all. When Li Zhong and the rest saw that she had exposed this big secret, they were all extremely worried. Sure enough, after listening to the story, the eyes of the third and fourth alliance masters simultaneously shot out a green light of greed. Chapter 2679, Not using divine power doesn't count as a win. 3. A portable house. That was something that only existed in legends. Not to mention how difficult it was to gather the materials to refine this item, there were very few artifact masters who could refine such a high-end item. However, when they thought of Len Ruoxue's relationship with the few people from the Armament Guild headquarters, they understood. Needless to say, those few people must have given her this. After understanding the relationship between the two, everyone in the Ascender Alliance was filled with envy and jealousy. It was indeed different to have someone backing you up. Look at how she was doing. When they thought about themselves, the Ascender Alliance's members instantly felt inferior and wished they could hide in a crack in the ground. However, at the same time, Alliance Master 3 and Alliance Master 4 had greedily set their eyes on Len Ruoxue's house. As long as he could defeat Leng Ruoxue, she wouldn't dare to not hand over that item. The two of them thought happily in their hearts. Little did they know that Leng Ruoxue had already seen through their thoughts. She had also deliberately exposed the existence of her portable house. After all, in the immortal realm, the fact that she had a portable house was no longer a secret. Although it had not been spread to everyone, at least some of the top families knew about it. More importantly, with the portable house as bait, she believed that the two would do their best. After instructing her precious little beasts to protect Li Zhong and the others and find a safe place, Leng Ruoxue beckoned with her finger. "Come, let's start fighting. You brat, I'll let you know why flowers are so red today." The four alliance masters shouted, and their weapons flashed in their hands as they attacked. His weapon was a saber. The blade was sharp, but the blade was only a foot long. After he held the weapon in his hand, he stretched his hand forward and a fierce and terrifying cold light was released along the blade. The cold light was as fast as lightning and as thin as a hair. The pressure it contained made Li Zhong and the others, who were in a safe place, feel fear. This person was so strong. If it wasn't for the fact that the treasure had given them enough comfort and told them that these people were no match for their master, they would have been worried to death. And baby was right. This was because just as they were sighing about how powerful their enemy was, in the blink of an eye, the cold glint that the enemy had released was knocked to the ground by Leng Ruoxue's fire attribute divine power. It was Shen power. Without even using a divine skill, his opponent's first move had lost its effect. Shuer is so powerful. Good luck. When the overly excited Li Zhong saw this, he couldn't help but take the lead and shout. Leng Ruoxue smiled and waved at them, indicating that she had received it. Baby was even more excited to take on the role of a commentator. He turned to Li Zhong and the others and said, "My cute master is going to kill the other party. Everyone, open your eyes and look carefully. Let's see how master kills the enemy." Its words almost made the four alliance masters' noses crooked. Fuck. What did he mean by Leng Ruoxue almost killed the enemy? Even though he didn't want to take this as a personal matter, it was obvious that the enemy this annoying fox was talking about was him. It was too obvious. He couldn't even lie to himself. However, before he could flare up, Leng Ruoxue's body leaped into the air and transformed into a stream of light, charging towards him at high speed. When she was less than a meter away from him, Leng Ruoxue decisively kicked out. Her foot landed right on the stomach of the Alliance Master 4. In an instant, the pitiful Alliance Master 4, who had yet to figure out the situation, was sent flying like a ball. With a loud bang, the four Alliance Masters crashed into a giant tree not far away and fainted. His body then slid freely to the ground. Hee hee. Master has won. Upon seeing this, the precious little beasts cried out in joy. However, everyone, including Li Zhong and the Ascender Alliance, couldn't laugh. Li Zhong and the others didn't expect Shuer to be so strong. She didn't even use any divine skills, and sent the other party flying with a single kick. This was really too amazing. Li Zhong and the others, whose reactions were obviously slower by half a beat, were stunned for a moment before they immediately revealed their starry eyes and stared at Leng Ruoxue with fiery gazes. As for the people of the Ascender Alliance, they were a little dumbfounded by this scene. Could this be considered a victory? If they didn't count in the other party's victory, how would they calculate the result when their four alliance masters fainted? They could not understand. Then, everyone turned to look at the third alliance master. Other than Vice President Zhang Miao, he was the one with the highest status. And it was obvious that Vice President Zhang Miao did not have the time to deal with this. The Ascender Alliance's third alliance master, who was furious at the anticipation in the eyes of the Ascender Alliance's members, also knew that he couldn't just keep quiet at this time. Therefore, he could only brace himself and say, "How can this be considered your master's victory? She didn't use any divine power at all. Not using Shen power doesn't count as a win." Leng Ruoxue blinked her eyes in disbelief. Thanks originally, she didn't have any thoughts of offending the Ascender Alliance too much. Therefore, she had shown mercy by kicking them directly. However, the other party didn't appreciate it. As such, she could only reluctantly accept it. However, in order to confirm the other party's thoughts, she still kindly asked again, "Is it really not considered my win if I don't use my godly skill?" "Of course not," the third alliance master said as he endured the pressure. The dignified fourth alliance master of the Ascender Alliance was defeated by an opponent in one move. If such a matter were to spread, it would definitely damage the image of their Ascender Alliance. Therefore, he was bound to hold on to this point. No matter what, they couldn't let Leng Ruoxue win. Otherwise, where would they put their face? "Do you really want me to use my divine power to count?" Leng Ruoxue still had to confirm. "That's right. You have to use Shen power, otherwise it cannot be considered your win." The third alliance master's anger rose a little after hearing the other party's repeated confirmation. "Do you all think the same way?" Leng Ruoxue then turned her beautiful eyes to the other members of the Ascender Alliance, similarly confirming it. Under Leng Ruoxue's interrogation, the Ascender Alliance could only say stubbornly in order to not weaken the Ascender Alliance's momentum, "Yes. You have to use Shen power, or else it will be hard to convince the masses." "All right then. You asked me to do this," Leng Ruoxue said helplessly. Then, she turned her beautiful eyes to the side of her baby and asked, "Baby, did you record what they said?" "Hee hee. Don't worry, cute master. I've recorded everything they said." Baby laughed evilly and showed him a small piece of memory crystal in his claws. "What does this mean? Were they afraid that they would go back on their word?" The Ascender Alliance's members' mouths twitched, and their foreheads were filled with black lines. They could not understand Leng Ruoxue's actions. But he believed that it wouldn't take long for them to understand. In the next moment, a small flame suddenly appeared on Leng Ruoxue's fair and delicate fingertips. The purple flame with a tinge of red first circled around her fingers a few times before it floated away from her beautiful snow-white fingers and flew towards the four alliance masters. Everyone present watched this scene intently, not knowing what use this small divine power flame could have. This was especially true in the eyes of the Ascender Alliance's members. This small amount of divine power that had condensed into a flame was simply not of any great use. "Stinky girl, don't tell me you only have this much Shen power." The third alliance master laughed wildly when he saw this. With him taking the lead, the Ascender Alliance's side instantly burst into laughter. "This amount of flame is enough," Leng Ruoxue said with a half-smile. "Oh, really? Then I'll have to wait and see." The third alliance master laughed so hard that he was out of breath, and his chest heaved up and down because of his unrestrained laughter. But very quickly, he was dumbfounded. While he was laughing, the small flame slowly flew to the four alliance masters and landed on him. In an instant, the four alliance masters' bodies were ablaze with flames that soared into the sky, and the temperature of the scene suddenly rose. At this moment, everyone realized that although the flame was small, it was not simple. In just a few seconds, the flames on the four alliance masters' bodies quickly shrank again, but the four alliance masters who had been enveloped in flames just a moment ago had disappeared without a trace. Everyone was petrified. Where did the four alliance masters go? Was he dead? The people in the Ascender Alliance who had witnessed this scene could not help but make wild guesses. However, they were all self-deceiving and unwilling to believe this fact. That was impossible. It was impossible for such a powerful flame to exist. The other party must have used some method to hide the four alliance masters. The moment the third alliance master thought of this, he glared at Leng Ruoxue and said, "Stinky girl, where did you take the four alliance masters? Quickly hand over the four alliance masters. Otherwise, our Ascender Alliance will not let you off." Leng Ruoxue was speechless when she saw the third alliance master's righteous indignation. The two of them had just been arguing and even fighting, so why did they suddenly share a common enemy? In fact, it wasn't hard to understand what the three alliance masters were thinking. He had to admit that the other party's flames were powerful, and then what? What should he do? The arrow was already on the string, could it be pulled back? If Len Ruoxue was that terrifying, would the other party allow him to back out? He had no choice but to lie to himself. Your 4 alliance masters are dead. Len Ruoxue replied indifferently. She did not take the alliance master's threat seriously. After all, he was the one who had requested for her to use her divine power. She could not be blamed. She was just killing the chicken to warn the monkey. It was just that the monkey was unlucky and didn't have time to leave any last words. This is impossible. The 3rd alliance master shouted with a trembling heart. If you don't believe me, you can experience it for yourself. How about it? Do you want to try? Len Ruoxue laughed evilly. It seemed that one could not be a good person. She was such an honest child, but he didn't believe her. Such an outcome made Len Ruoxue feel a little hurt. The moment he heard that Len Ruoxue wanted him to experience it, the 3rd alliance master's face turned pale and his heart started to beat wildly. What a fucking experience. Did he dare to experience it? If he really experienced it, what would he do if he died? Seeing the unpredictable expression on the 3rd alliance master's face, Len Ruoxue said in disappointment, I knew you wouldn't have the guts. Nonsense, who says I don't have the guts? After Len Ruoxue's provocation, the 3rd alliance master's anger rose again. Then you can try. As soon as Len Ruoxue finished speaking, the little flame that had been floating in the air waiting for the next instruction flew towards the direction of the 3rd alliance master, who wanted to experience it, in a carefree and happy manner. Chapter 2680, Prepare to wipe them out in one go. 1. The 3rd alliance master's face turned pale as he looked at the little flame that was approaching him. His legs started to tremble, but he still held on to his dignity. However, his trembling legs revealed the nervousness in his heart. Fuck. He was so angry that he wanted to curse. What the hell was this? Was he threatening him? The 3rd alliance master hated the situation in front of him to death, especially when he saw the floating little flame slowly approaching him without any hurry, as if it was playing with him. He was really anxious and angry. However, as the leader of the 3 alliances and the future elder of the General Alliance, he would not allow himself to drop the ball. Therefore, no matter how afraid he was, he had to hold on. The little flame seemed to have sensed his thoughts. With a whoosh, it floated in front of the 3rd alliance master and looked him in the eye. The small flame was right in front of the 3rd alliance master's eyes, and his heart instantly jumped to his throat. He stared at the flame in his sight without blinking. He didn't understand what the flame was trying to do. Was he going to stare at him? However, his little heart was beating wildly, and cold sweat gradually slid down his forehead. The huge mental pressure caused the 3 alliance masters to open their mouths, but they couldn't form a complete sentence. He was so anxious that he wanted to cry. What should he do? At such a close distance, he could clearly feel the heat from the little flame's body. It was hot. It was so hot. After looking at each other for a long time and seeing that the little flame in front of him didn't do anything, the alliance master of the 3 alliances felt a little relieved. He took a few deep breaths and then gathered his courage to say, Go. Go away. Get away from me. Hearing this, the little flame seemed to twist its body and turned around in a circle before floating back to its original position and continued to stare at the 3rd alliance master. The 3rd alliance master was dumbfounded. What was this thing trying to do? He could not understand what the little flame was trying to say, but he could clearly feel that the little flame was waiting for something. The little flame trembled and suddenly grew a little higher, turning the 3rd alliance master's face red. The 3rd alliance master was so scared that his face turned even paler. Then, he clearly felt an unbearable heat coming at him. In an instant, the small flame reached the 3rd alliance master's body and instantly burned into a huge fire that was half the height of a person, enveloping the 3rd alliance master. It was hot. The endless heat made the 3rd alliance master's body unbearably hot. He felt as if he was in a sea of fire, and the heat waves that covered the sky seemed to be about to burn him. After a short while, the Third Alliance Master's painful screams came from the flames. Help! Help! When the Flame and the 3 Alliance Masters were staring at each other, the Ascender Alliance's members were so scared that they took a few steps back and kept their distance from the Flame's sphere of influence. At this moment, they saw the Third Alliance Master being enveloped in a scorching flame that was half the height of a man and even letting out an extremely painful howl. They were so frightened that their faces turned pale, and their bodies trembled like fallen leaves in the autumn wind. Those who were less courageous could not withstand the terrifying mental pressure and fainted. After a while, Len Ruoxue saw that it was about time. She used her mind to summon the little flame away from the Third Alliance Master. At this moment, the Third Alliance Master was just standing there in a daze. Other than his entire body turning black, he did not suffer any major injuries. However, the pain in his heart was definitely not small. He believed that he would never want to experience what he had experienced in his life again. Third Alliance Master, how do you feel? I've been merciful to you. Otherwise, you'll end up like the 4 Alliance Masters. Len Ruoxue smiled faintly. When the Third Alliance Master heard this, he didn't know how to react. He moved his stiff body and opened his mouth, but he couldn't say a word. He continued to stand there in a daze, making it impossible to know what he was thinking. Thanks after a long time. Only then did the Third Alliance Master let out a wail, squatted on the ground, and started crying. The cry was so miserable that it was simply unbearable, as if he had suffered some great grievance or lost a loved one. It was enough to describe it as tragic. When the Ascender Alliance saw this scene, their hearts were filled with complicated emotions. Although they could not empathize with him, they understood that the Third Alliance Master was definitely frightened. On the side, Li Zhong and the others saw a man squatting on the ground and wailing without any care for his image. Black lines were hanging on his forehead, and he was sweating profusely. In addition, they also sympathized with the other party. Look at how scared they were. They hadn't even officially fought yet. She abandoned her image and started crying. AI. He was really pitiful. However, when the Third Alliance Master cried like this, the little flame, who continued to wait at the side, kindly let him go and targeted the others. The Ascender Alliance members were instantly frightened and wanted to run away. However, before they could do so, they found that they were so scared that their legs had turned soft and they could not move. What should I do? The Ascender Alliance members trembled in the wind, while the little flame was jumping and cheering excitedly. Now, it was only waiting for its master's order to act. When Len Ruoxue saw this, she broke out in a cold sweat for her little flame, who was becoming more and more intelligent. One had to know that she had no intention of annihilating all of these people at the moment. However, it was not a bad idea to scare them a little. At the thought of this, Len Ruoxue revealed a devilish smile and said calmly, as the saying goes, we share good fortune and misfortune together. Since the 3 Alliance Masters have already experienced the power of my flames, how about you all experience it too? Don't worry, I won't let you end up like the 4 Alliance Masters. But they didn't want to experience it either. After hearing Len Ruoxue's comforting words, the Ascender Alliance did not let go of their fear. Instead, they became even more afraid. Moreover, was this considered comforting? Would they be happy if they didn't end up like the 4 Alliance Masters? Sob. Even if they were only asked to be like the Third Alliance Master, they were not willing to. It was too embarrassing, wasn't it? The crowd was filled with grief and indignation, but they did not know how to refute Len Ruoxue's words. Or rather, they did not have the confidence to convince this demoness to let them off. The facts proved that their thinking was right. From Len Ruoxue's point of view, since these people dared to gather to seek revenge on her, they must have been prepared to enjoy any consequences. One must know that she was never a soft persimmon. Now, she, who wasn't a pushover, was about to counterattack. Looking at everyone's pale little faces, Len Ruoxue's smile became even more charming. At the same time, the little flame, who had received some kind of hint, also happily floated towards the place with the most people in the Ascender Alliance. In an instant, The flames once again burned fiercely. Almost everyone in the Ascender Alliance was surrounded by flames. A few fish that escaped the net were even kicked into the sea of flames by a few idle baby beasts to enjoy themselves. In an instant, a painful howl suddenly sounded. It scared Li Zhong and the others so much that they trembled, and their hearts also started to beat wildly. Chapter 2681, Prepare to wipe them out in one go. 2. At this time, they deeply sympathized with the Ascender Alliance. Shuai was really too valiant. He was their idol. Wretched girl. What are you doing? Suddenly, Zhang Miao, who had accidentally caught a glimpse of this scene, shouted at the top of his lungs in anger. However, Len Ruoxue ignored his roar. Anyway, that fellow was being restrained by the mother parasol tree. It was basically impossible to come over and save her. But this time, Len Ruoxue was wrong. After Zhang Miao thought of a way to shake off the mother parasol tree, he teleported to Len Ruoxue's side and attacked her furiously. When Len Ruoxue felt a cold and threatening air current coming towards her, she calmly blinked her eyes and used her bare hands to block the opponent's attack. Seeing this, Zhang Miao's anger rose. Damn girl, you do have some skills. Zhang Miao shouted in disbelief. He had never thought that a puny divine emperor could actually block his attack. The second wave of attacks came one after another, but Len Ruoxue blocked them calmly. In between the attacks, she even smiled and replied, "Thank you for the compliment, but it's mainly because your strength is too low." These words made Zhang Miao's anger instantly rise. His attacks were much fiercer. Bullying a little girl, what kind of skill are you? Little guy, come, in your opponent. Don't get it wrong. The mother parasol tree stood in front of Len Ruoxue and blocked Zhang Miao's subsequent attack. Zhang Miao was so angry that his face turned red and his temper flared up. However, this time, it would not be so easy for him to escape from the mother parasol tree. AI. Len Ruoxue sighed with regret. Seeing that it was about time, she ordered the little flame to retreat. The retreating little flame was obviously not done playing around as it circled around Len Ruoxue and acted coquettishly. At this moment, the sound of crying could be heard. Len Ruoxue turned around and saw that everyone from the Ascender Alliance was just like the three Alliance Masters. They were all squatting on the ground and wailing. The scene was so spectacular that it simply made people gasp in amazement. Oh woo! Suddenly, another sharp howl was heard, and it instantly attracted everyone's attention. Even the people of the Ascender Alliance who were crying were so shocked by this sound that they forgot to cry. Everyone looked up at the same time and saw the scene of Zhang Miao being tortured by the mother parasol tree. At this moment, Zhang Miao had been tied up by the mother parasol tree with vines and was hanging upside down on the tree. The mother parasol tree, dressed in red, was holding an emerald green whip woven from vines, which was hitting Zhang Miao's body again and again. As it fought, the mother parasol tree roared, "Damn it! Who told you to run away?" The parasol tree mother tree was referring to the incident where Zhang Miao had escaped from her to attack Shuai. This matter made her quite angry. Therefore, she, who didn't intend to be heavy-handed, was completely enraged. Some people just won't be good if they're not beaten. The mother parasol tree decided to help the Ascender Alliance teach the vice president a lesson so that he would not forget to think that he could provoke anyone. Thanks. What was the Ascender Alliance? When she was still around, the Ascender Alliance's master had not even been born yet. One must know that the mother parasol tree's seniority in the firmament was not low. Perhaps she could not be compared to Wu Xiao, but in front of these little fellows from the Ascender Alliance, she was definitely a high and mighty existence. Therefore, she decided to let these people know what seniority was. What was respect for the elders? Otherwise, if these little guys came to find trouble with them one by one, she might find it interesting once or twice, but after a long time, she would become numb. And now, the vice president of the Ascender Alliance was the first person she wanted to intimidate. Zhang Miao, who had stood out, was both indignant and helpless. He had never dreamed that he would be taught a lesson by a woman even though he was already a supreme god. After all, there were not many female supreme gods in the firmament, and most of them belonged to the magical beasts. Therefore, he had never thought that the mother parasol tree would be so difficult to deal with. It was fine that he was not a match for it, but his strength was not as good as it was. But now, he had been beaten up like this. How could he face others in the future? Zhang Miao, who was quite worried in his heart, felt extremely painful all over. However, the fact that he had been beaten up made the people of the Ascender Alliance feel balanced in their hearts. The vice president had been beaten up, so the treatment they had received seemed to be nothing. With this thought, some of the people who were still considered strong-minded calmed down. However, the way they looked at Leng Ruoxue and the mother parasol tree was as if they were looking at two mad women. These two women were too scary. Sob. The divine realm is so unsafe. Could they return to the lower realm if they wanted to? For a time, the Ascender Alliance could not help but have such a thought. However, it was clearly impossible for them to leave so easily. After observing Zhang Miao, who was being whipped by the mother parasol tree, Leng Ruoxue turned her beautiful eyes back to the Ascender Alliance. How should I deal with you? Leng Ruoxue muttered to herself. Upon hearing this, the hearts of the Ascender Alliance's members trembled again. Cute master, cut them all. Baby suggested loudly. Can I not have it? No one wanted to die. That's a good idea. Alliance Master 3, you said before that not using divine power doesn't count as a win, right? I'll use my Shin power now. Let's continue our battle. Leng Ruoxue suggested with a smile. Continue, my ass. If they really fought, he would probably lose his life. The third Alliance Master was slightly worried, but he forced an ugly smile and said, let's not fight anymore, you win. No. Leng Ruoxue was strongly opposed to this kind of situation where they won without a fight. Such a thing didn't give them any sense of accomplishment. The third Alliance Master swallowed his saliva and was speechless. What do you want? After a long time, the third Alliance Master saw that the other party didn't speak and only stared at him with her beautiful eyes. This made him feel quite pressured, so he braced himself and asked. Fight. Leng Ruoxue spat out a single word. The third Alliance Master's expression changed like a palette, and then he revealed a constipated expression. Can't I not fight? He was really afraid. Of course not. Don't forget what you said before. You said that you can deal with me and that you will avenge the 3 and 4 alliances I killed. Humph. I hate it when people lie to me. Leng Ruoxue said in an unpleasant tone. He was wrong. He was really wrong. He shouldn't have come to seek revenge from Leng Ruoxue. He should have believed the rumors about Leng Ruoxue. Those rumors definitely didn't exaggerate her matters. Instead, it made the third Alliance Master think that they had exaggerated her matters. If he had known that Leng Ruoxue was so terrifying and difficult to deal with, he would not have dared to come even if he had 10 times the courage. What were the 3 and 4 alliances on the Divine Continent? Could it be more important than his own life? Moreover, the 4 Alliance Masters had lost their lives. He didn't want to end up like them and leave his life in Leng Ruoxue's hands. Chapter 2682, Preparing to wipe them out in one fell swoop. 3. The third Alliance Master kept on reflecting in his heart. After a long time, he revealed an extremely ugly smile and put down his pride. I was wrong. I won't seek revenge from you, alright? The Godly Lands 3 and 4 alliances offended you, so they deserve it. They asked for it. I can't blame you for this. It was true. Please believe me. Can you represent the Ascender Alliance by saying this? Leng Ruoxue blinked her eyes and asked. I can. I definitely can. The third Alliance Master saw that there seemed to be a chance and quickly smiled to please him. It's a pity that I don't believe you. Leng Ruoxue said calmly. Her words made the third Alliance Master choke and anger him, but he didn't dare to say anything. Leng Ruoxua looked at the other party's face as she tried to suppress her anger. She turned to the mother parasol tree and said, "Senior, let me borrow your rattan. Take it." The mother parasol tree generously tossed over a long and thin vine. Leng Ruoxua held the vine in her hand and flung it gently. The long vine then bound the Ascender Alliance's members together. Leng Ruoxua, what are you doing? Quickly release us. The third alliance master did not even realize what Leng Ruoxua was trying to do before he was tied up. When he finally reacted, the first thing that rose in his heart was a deep fear. This kind of unknown danger was really not good for them. You're my captives now. How can I let you go? Actually, you should feel lucky that I didn't kill you all like I did with the 3 and 4 alliances. You can still keep your lives for now. In the future, I can't say for sure. Leng Ruoxua spoke in a carefree manner. Upon hearing her words, the hearts of the Ascender Alliance members began to race wildly. They were extremely uneasy, but this woman had already scared them out of their wits. They did not have the guts to resist the evil forces. Sobs. Some of the Ascender Alliance members who had accepted their fate began to sob again. Leng Ruoxua ignored their actions and turned to the mother parasol tree. "Senior, please stop. Let's leave this place." The pitiful Zhang Miao had already been knocked unconscious by the mother parasol tree, unconscious. Hearing Leng Ruoxua's words, the parasol tree mother tree nodded and put Zhang Miao down with a look of disgust. She asked, "Shuer, what should we do with these people? Let's see the attitude of the Ascender Alliance first. These people are our hostages." Leng Ruoxua laughed evilly. Actually, she really hadn't thought of how to deal with these people. It was obvious that most of them were the elites of the Ascender Alliance, so she couldn't easily get rid of them like she had done with the 3 and 4 alliances of the Godly Continent. If she really did that, and the Ascender Alliance was driven to desperation and turned to Wuli, this wasn't the outcome she wanted. Alright. Then let's go home as soon as possible. I'm starting to miss everyone. The mother parasol tree said anxiously. "Senior, don't go home first. Go to the Divine Realm's 3rd and 4th Union," Leng Ruoxua suggested with a smile. However, the mother parasol tree did not quite understand Leng Ruoxua's words and looked at her with a confused expression. "Collect more hostages." Leng Ruoxua laughed. Once he said that, everyone present understood. So he wanted to wipe out the headquarters of the 3rd and 4th alliances. Ruthless. He was really too ruthless. The Ascender Alliance members were especially regretful. Who had they offended? How could there be such a shameless human in this world? At this moment, they were so regretful that their intestines turned green. However, no matter how remorseful they were, it was none of Leng Ruoxua's business. After sending everyone into the house, Leng Ruoxua even walked towards the 3rd Alliance Master and smiled. "3rd Alliance Master, do you like this place?" "No, I don't like it. I don't like it." The 3rd Alliance Master stammered. Although he didn't understand the demon's intention, he knew that it was a trap. Suddenly, he was shocked. Could it be that the other party knew what he was thinking? Thinking of this possibility, the 3rd Alliance Master's face became even paler. He revealed an innocent and bitter smile, and added, "I'm not interested in this place, really. It doesn't matter if you're interested. As long as you can defeat me, this place will be yours." Leng Ruoxua suggested with a smile. "I'm really not interested." Hearing this, the 3rd Alliance Master was so anxious that tears welled up in his eyes. Woo! He was really too blind. How could he dare to use this demonic woman as his stepping stone to climb up? He was really courting death. The 3rd Alliance Master, who had thought it through, lowered his head in desolation. The desolate aura around him made him look rather pitiful. Leng Ruoxua stopped teasing him and turned around to leave the house with the parasol tree mother and Yu. After leaving the house, without even waiting for their master's instructions, Yu carried the two of them and directly flew towards the Ascender Alliance's encampment in the deity world. The Ascender Alliance of the Divine Realm was several times more powerful than the Ascender Alliance of the Divine Continent. You had flown for close to 10 days before he finally arrived at the territory of the Ascender Alliance. Thanks, the layout of the Ascender Alliance here was slightly different from that of the Divine Continent. Once one entered the Ascender Alliance's territory, they would first come into contact with the 5 alliances. Then, the 5 alliances would form a ring in order, with the main alliance located in the center of the 5 alliances. Each of the 5 alliances had a teleportation formation that could lead them directly to the general alliance. The moment Leng Ruoxue and the Mother Parasol Tree entered the alliance, they attracted the attention of the spies. In the divine world, Leng Ruoxue's reputation was definitely much more resounding than in the divine continent. Even a small fry would have long remembered Leng Ruoxue's appearance. This was unlike the Ascender Alliance on the divine continent. Other than a few who had seen Leng Ruoxue's appearance, most of them had only heard of her name. As for her appearance, they did not have much of an impression. They had only heard that she was a peerless beauty that could cause the downfall of a country. It couldn't be said that they didn't value the existence of Leng Ruoxue, the god of slaughter. It was just that no one had expected Leng Ruoxue to go to the godly mainland, so the people there had naturally let down their guard against her. If they were to accidentally offend the other party, they could only blame it on their bad luck. When the spies of the 5 alliances sent news of Leng Ruoxue's arrival back to the 5 alliances, the 5 alliance masters immediately panicked. Then, why did the killer god come? Didn't he get the alliance masters of the 5 alliances to send her a letter? Why did that woman walk into the trap? The alliance masters of the 5 alliances, who could not figure it out, felt a headache coming on. More importantly, he was not clear about Leng Ruoxue's intentions, so he was in a mess. Furthermore, he had secretly sent someone to pass on the news to Leng Ruoxue. Hence, he was even more afraid that Leng Ruoxue would be captured by the Ascender Alliance. If she betrayed him, his future would be completely gone. It should be known that no force would tolerate traitors, and he did not really want to betray the Ascender Alliance. It was just that the competition between the 5 alliances was too intense, so sometimes, in order to take a step further, it was common to use some extraordinary means. This time, he wanted to drag down the 3rd and 4th alliances, but now, he felt like he was riding a tiger and couldn't stop. Just as the 5th alliance master was pacing back and forth in his living room, a guard suddenly stammered and reported that 2 women wanted to see him. Before the 5th alliance master could finish listening to the report, he was already greatly shocked. 2 women. Was it Leng Ruoxue and another woman with unfathomable power? The 5th Union master wanted to say that he didn't want to see her, but a female voice suddenly rang in his ear. The threshold for the 5th alliance master is so high. It's not easy to see you. With that, the 2 women entered uninvited, and then graciously found a place to sit. Leng Ruoxue. The 5th alliance master immediately recognized him. Alliance Master Wu has good eyes. Your guards don't seem to be able to recognize them. Leng Ruoxue glanced at the uneasy guard and smiled. When the guard heard this, he was so embarrassed that he wanted to find a hole to hide in. Wu. It wasn't that he didn't recognize the other person's identity. He was the one who was completely dumbfounded. You may leave. The 5th alliance master's anger rose when he saw the guard's cowardly appearance. He knew that the guard must have been frightened. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been unable to speak clearly when he was reporting. When the guard heard this, he heaved a sigh of relief as if he had received a special pardon and quickly turned around to escape. At this moment, the 5th master forced himself to be alert and asked in a seemingly casual manner, "May I know why young Lady Leng has come to the Ascender Alliance?" 2 things. First, thank you for your tip-off. Second. Naturally, I'm going to the 3rd and 4th alliances. Leng Ruoxue said directly. Ah. I don't understand what Miss Leng is saying. The 5th alliance master played dumb. Leng Ruoxue glanced at the other party indifferently and said, "It doesn't matter, as long as I understand." The 5th master was speechless, and the atmosphere became heavy. He didn't say a word, and Leng Ruoxue didn't speak either. both of them just stared at each other. In the end, it was the fifth alliance master who could not stand the pressure and surrendered. "Miss Leng, please don't harm me, old man." "Why would I harm you?" "Not only will I not harm you, but I also have to congratulate you. The fourth alliance master is already dead, and the third alliance master has become my prisoner. If there are no accidents, you should be able to take over the position very soon. Isn't this what you want the most?" Leng Ruoxue was all smiles as she spoke in an extremely understanding manner. After hearing this, the fifth alliance master was so scared that he fell to the ground and asked with a trembling voice, The fourth alliance master is dead? The third alliance master had been captured. What about Vice President Zhang Miao? In all honesty, he had never expected Leng Ruoxue to kill the fourth alliance master. Originally, he only wanted to embarrass the other party and ruin their reputation. Who knew? However, he didn't have much sympathy for the dead alliance master 4. He was just a little scared. Leng Ruoxue's courage was not ordinary. Chapter 2683, The General Union Struggle, 1. In the eyes of the 5 alliance masters, Leng Ruoxue, who was more courageous than anyone else, was still smiling when she heard the other party's question. "The third alliance master and your vice president Zhang Miao are both in my hands. They are my hostages now." Hearing this, the fifth alliance master wished he could faint. Sob. Why did she let him hear such a terrifying truth? Leng Ruoxue was too evil. Alliance Master Yu Sang's face was filled with anger. Leng Ruoxue was like a demon in his heart. The more he looked at her, the more afraid he felt. Especially now that she had something on him, what should he do? He was so worried that his hair was about to turn white, and the expression on his face was extremely conflicted. When Leng Ruoxue saw this, she smiled faintly and said, "Don't worry, fifth master. I won't tell anyone that you were the one who tipped me off and gave me the chance to capture third master and that Zhang Miao alive." As if he would believe that. The fifth master gritted his teeth in hatred. Then what was she doing here? In his opinion, although the other party said that they were here to thank him, the situation before him was clearly a threat. "I really didn't do anything." After sighing for a long time, the 5 alliance masters finally said this. "Alliance Master 5, I know you want to do a good deed without leaving your name. I understand. You don't need to explain." Leng Ruoxue replied calmly. After she finished speaking, she stood up with the parasol tree mother tree and said, "Since you already know how grateful we are, well, take our leave now. We still have business to attend to in the third and fourth alliances. Also, if there's any news from your side, remember to let me know at any time. I hope we can work together happily in the future." After that, Leng Ruoxue and the mother parasol tree walked out of the 5 alliances without giving the 5 alliance masters a chance to reject. Only the depressed and conflicted alliance master 5 was left standing in the living room. Had he boarded a pirate ship? The fifth master wanted to cry but had no tears. He deeply felt that he had found himself a big problem, and this big problem was obviously one that he could not get rid of. What should he do? If the General Alliance knew what he had done, he would definitely be expelled from the Ascender Alliance. The fifth master pulled at his hair worriedly and circled the living room again. However, the news that came after that made his jaw drop in shock. This was because not only did Leng Ruoxue and the other woman really go to the third and fourth alliances, they even kidnapped everyone from the 2 alliances and escaped unscathed. Such a reality made him both frightened and impressed by Leng Ruoxue's strength. Look at him, he came to the Ascender Alliance as if he was strolling in his own back garden. He came and left as he pleased. Suddenly, an idea flashed through his mind. Since Leng Ruoxue was so powerful, it would not be a loss for him to work with her. As soon as this thought appeared, he could no longer control his excitement. His original entanglement and depression were miraculously calmed down. It was at this moment that he had decided to work together with Leng Ruoxue. Following that, he quickly sent a voice transmission to Leng Ruoxue to express his respect for her. He also told her that he would inform her immediately if there were any movements on his side. When Leng Ruoxue received the message from the fifth master, she was already on her way back to the land of demons. After that, she told the Mother Parasol Tree about this matter, which made the Mother Parasol Tree sigh. How can the Ascender Alliance have such an alliance leader who is a traitor? Ha ha ha. Leng Ruoxue laughed happily when she heard the Mother Parasol Tree's comments. She didn't care whether the Ascender Alliance was good or not, as long as they didn't provoke her again. 5 days later. You carried Leng Ruoxue and the Mother Parasol Tree back to the land of demons. According to his master's request, Feather first flew around the sky above the land of demons. Leng Ruoxue, on the other hand, looked down from the sky and realized that the construction speed of the land of demons had increased significantly since she had left. The prototype of the city had basically appeared. Thanks, the streets and houses were all available. All kinds of tall trees and precious flowers were planted around the main house. It was obvious that Uncle Long and the others had put a lot of effort into this place. Who is it? Don't you know that you can't fly in other people's territory? Suddenly, an angry roar rang in Leng Ruoxue's ears. Following that, a huge red phoenix appeared beside Leng Ruoxue. Leng Ruoxue blinked her eyes. This phoenix looked so familiar. The red phoenix blinked its eyes as well. It did not recognize Leng Ruoxue, but it was familiar with the aura of the Mother Parasol Tree. When it felt the Mother Parasol Tree's motherly aura, the phoenix's eyes were suddenly filled with tears. It could not be bothered to accuse Leng Ruoxue and the rest of them for not following the rules. It immediately pounced on the Mother Parasol Tree's feet and started wailing. What was this situation? Leng Ruoxue had already recognized the phoenix. Wasn't this the housekeeper of the Phoenix King who had run away from home? Why was it here? The Mother Parasol Tree helplessly patted the little head of the crying phoenix, then carried it up. However, the former housekeeper of the Feng clan cried even more miserably. Seeing this, Leng Ruoxue's expression darkened even more. How long were they going to cry for? At this moment, another voice was heard. Master! The moment Leng Ruoxue raised her head, a little red phoenix crashed into her arms. Feng Zhan, how are you? Leng Ruoxue asked as she gently stroked Feng Zhan's little head. Oh no, I miss Master. Feng Zhan said with an aggrieved expression. Ha, Master, I'm back. Leng Ruoxue smiled helplessly. Master, you won't leave again, right? Feng Zhan asked, a little worried. They had never been separated from their master for so long. Temporarily not. Leng Ruoxue nodded. Feng Zhan was happy to hear that. He turned around and saw a certain phoenix crying. He shouted unhappily, Why are you crying? I'll sell you if you keep crying. Leng Ruoxue was a little shocked. What did this mean? Could it be that the construction of the land of demons ran out of money again, so they had to rely on selling orcs? Was this good? Leng Ruoxue's thoughts ran wild. However, when the former housekeeper heard this, he immediately stopped crying. With tears in his eyes, he looked at Feng Zhan pitifully and choked out, young master, I was too excited. I like the aura on this person, it smells like my mother. Nonsense. She's the senior Parasol Tree mother. Feng Zhan's face was filled with resentment as he roared. He was deeply helpless against this subordinate of his who had gone off track. Other than the time in their mother's body, almost all phoenixes grew up with the Parasol Tree. Therefore, in the hearts of the Phoenix tribe, the Parasol Tree was definitely not inferior to their parents. Furthermore, the Mother Parasol Tree was the ancestor of all the Parasol Trees. Wasn't it normal for the phoenixes to feel close to it? Chapter 2684, The General Union Struggle, 2. But when the Feng clan's former steward heard Feng Zhan's words, his eyes widened in disbelief and shock. He trembled as he said, Wudong, isn't the mother Wudong already dead? You bastard! You're the one who's dead. When Feng Zhan heard this, he roared in anger. To say that someone had died in front of them, was this something a normal and intelligent beastie would do? Ah! I didn't mean it that way. A certain butler was very embarrassed. It's okay, little guy. I understand what you mean. I'm not dead. I'm still alive and well. At this moment, the mother parasol tree gently stroked the head of a certain butler and said softly. Old ancestor, a certain butler was touched. The old ancestor was so gentle. You dare to try crying? Seeing that his subordinate was thinking of rain again, Feng Zhan immediately shouted. Don't scare it. Look at how scared it is. Leng Ruoxu glanced at the trembling butler and said helplessly. Master, this fellow is too stupid. I really don't understand why the Phoenix King would let it be the housekeeper. Feng Zhan complained. Then, she briefly explained to her master the reason why this stupid butler was here. Only then did Leng Ruoxu understand that this butler had been captured by humans before and had been accidentally rescued by Uncle Long and the others. I think it was frightened by you. Leng Ruoxu's eyes were burning as she spoke after understanding the butler's experience. Is that so? Feng Zhan blinked, then looked at the housekeeper and said loudly, You're afraid of me? Don't be afraid. I am not afraid. A certain butler trembled as he whispered. You're still not afraid? Feng Zhan, Leng Ruoxu, and the parasol tree mother tree were all speechless. However, Feng Zhan was kind enough not to make things difficult for that stupid subordinate. After the feather landed, Leng Ruoxu and the mother parasol tree received a warm welcome from Uncle Long and the rest at their doorstep. However, Leng Ruoxu and the mother parasol tree were a little frightened by the crowd's enthusiasm. Helpless, Leng Ruoxu could only move out her own people from her house and wake up those who were in closed-door cultivation. Then, she instructed Qing Ju to wake up the people who were in seclusion in the bracelet. When his grandfather, big brother, and the cheapskate ancestors saw their old friends who had not seen each other for a long time, they naturally exchanged warm greetings. Uncle Long had also arranged for people to prepare a grand banquet to welcome the Luo family, Wanshan City, the Leng family, and the Lan family. Looking at the magnificent scene of nearly 10,000 people, Uncle Long's eyes shone with a wolf-like green light, which made the people from the Hautian continent shiver. Isn't this a little too enthusiastic? He was so enthusiastic that it made people wonder if the other party had any ulterior motives. The group of people from the Hautian continent felt particularly uneasy. Thanks after the celebration banquet ended, the Hautian continent's representative, led by Leng Shaoqing, went to find Shui in private and asked about the matter. Leng Ruoxu didn't know whether to laugh or cry when she heard their doubts and worries. Was it wrong to be a little more enthusiastic? However, Uncle Long and the others were indeed too enthusiastic. It was no wonder that they were frightened. After some thought, Leng Ruoxu smiled and explained, Don't worry, I won't sell you guys off. Uncle Long is only so friendly because he's happy to have help. A helper? Leng Shaoqing and the others could not understand. As you can see, my demon city is under construction, and I need manpower the most. So, since you want to stay here, you naturally have to do some work. Of course, if you have a better place, I won't force you. Leng Ruoxu said calmly. As soon as she finished speaking, the few people present naturally understood. Of course, they wanted to stay with Leng Ruoxu. One had to know that this was the divine realm. They could be in danger of losing their lives at any moment. Without Leng Ruoxu's protection, it would be difficult for them to move a single step in the divinity. Therefore, it was really nothing to make them work a little. The few of them had no objections to Leng Ruoxu's request. After that, Leng Ruoxu sent them to Uncle Long and let him arrange their work. Uncle Long first inspected everyone that Leng Ruoxu had brought back. The people from the Luo family and Wanshan City were his own people, so he was naturally satisfied. These people didn't have any arrogance and were obedient. Basically, they would do anything. But what about the Leng and Lan families? It was easy to arrange for these people who were used to doing manual labor and did not have a high status. What made it difficult for him was the elders who were high up in the Leng and Lan families and had quite a high status. These people were not easy to arrange. In Uncle Long's eyes, these people were simply the clan's insects, the type that just ate and waited for death. Because in terms of strength, they were not the highest. In terms of status, they were not the highest either. However, they were very difficult to serve, even more difficult than the ancestors of the Leng and Lan families. At least those old ancestors and Zong-level people could see the situation clearly and know what should and shouldn't be done. However, many of these people were not clear about it and still felt that they were insufferably arrogant and needed others to look up to them as elders. Uncle Long had never been soft-hearted when dealing with people like this. The ancestors of the Leng family and the Lan family knew what kind of people they had, so they had told Uncle Long to use their people as he pleased. Of course, Uncle Long wouldn't stand on ceremony. Since he was here, he had the final say. However, he was still quite gratified that the other party's old ancestor could make such a statement. At least there were still people who understood. After everyone had been assigned their jobs, Uncle Long finally let out a sigh of relief. With the help of these people, Demon City would be completed in less than a month. However, his plan was very good. When the work had just begun, some elders of the Lan family and the Leng family were already very dissatisfied with the heavy work that Uncle Long had arranged for them. In the hearts of some of the elders, they were elders after all. Even if they didn't arrange some light work for them, they shouldn't let them do such heavy work, right? One had to know that some of the blue and cold clansmen, whose status were lower than theirs, had an easier job than them. This fact made them feel particularly unbalanced. With this thought in mind, they quickly went to complain to their ancestor. When Leng Xiaoqing and the Lan clan's old ancestor heard this, they did not even frown. They only told them that it was fine if they did not do it, but they had to leave this place. In fact, the ancestors of the Leng and Lan families were well aware that the workplace Uncle Dragon had arranged for them would be given to them as their territory in the future. In other words, as long as the construction of the workplace was completed, they could settle down in Demon City. This was much better than letting them wander around like headless flies. Furthermore, this was the divinity, not the Haotian continent. With Leng Ruoxue as their backer, they were more than happy to have her. How could they let a few clansmen who could not bear hardships destroy the shallow friendship between the two sides? Chapter 2685, The General Union Struggle, 3. It was precisely because of this thought that they agreed with Uncle Long's arrangement. They even appreciated Uncle Long's kindness because they knew that Uncle Long only wanted to train these elders. Otherwise, if these people were released in a place like the Divine World, they would definitely die a miserable death. After hearing that they had to leave if they didn't do it, some of the elders of the Lan and Leng families, who failed to complain, all wilted like frost eggplants and ran back to work dejectedly. With their strength, they would die if they left this place. Under the pressure of the Lan and Leng family's ancestors, this small storm did not get too big. It even calmed down very quickly. As for those fellows who had once thought highly of themselves, after seeing that the many members of the Phoenix race and the White Tiger race here were also working seriously, they became completely honest and began to work as they were told. When Uncle Long received the news, he laughed very proudly. Hee, it was a good thing there were people in those two families who understood. Otherwise, his painstaking efforts would have been fed to the dogs. Demon City, which was under construction, was temporarily peaceful. Everyone was working hard for their home. On a certain day, while Leng Ruoxue was away, the master of the Ning family, who had returned to the Ning family to settle some matters, came back in a hurry. As soon as he entered the courtyard, he shouted, "Shuer, you brat, come out." Hearing this, Uncle Long and Dongfang Yu walked out of the living room first. They looked at Master Ning with a puzzled face and couldn't help but ask, "Old man Ning, what's wrong? What are you shouting about?" "Shuer is in seclusion refining." "Don't disturb her." "Why are you still refining? Do you know what that girl did?" The master of the Ning family roared with a dark face. "What did Shuer do?" The two of them looked at each other and asked in unison. "That girl, she destroyed the Ascender Alliance's third and fourth alliances on the Divine Continent and captured all the members of the Divine Realm's third and fourth alliances. Now, The Alliance Master is asking me for her. The Master of the Ning family said helplessly. The Master of the Ascender Alliance was an old friend of his, and the other party knew of his relationship with Shuer, so he had come to him directly, wanting him to help mediate. However, the Master of the Ascender Alliance had been vague about why Shuer was like this, so the Master of the Ning family, who thought himself to be smart, knew that there must be something he didn't know. Of course, he did not think that this matter was Shuer's fault. That girl is too lazy. She would not take the initiative to find trouble with others, but if someone provoked her, she would definitely be ruthless. It was precisely because he knew of Shuer's vengeful character that he felt that this definitely had nothing to do with his own girl. However, that stinky girl actually did not tell him that she had returned to the divine realm, and this made him rather angry. It was because of this reason that he had come to settle the score with the little girl. Do you think we have to give her to you just because you want her? There's no such thing. Dongfang Yu immediately said disapprovingly. His thoughts were similar to Master Ning's. He knew that the Ascender Alliance must have annoyed Shuer. Otherwise, Shuer wouldn't be like this. However, it was a little strange that Shuer didn't tell them about this. It is. What could he do if she didn't give it to him? Are you going to bite us? Uncle Long also shouted in an unreasonable manner. You, the Master of the Ning family was rendered speechless by their tone. Why were these two people becoming more and more like bandits? Godfather is here. At this moment, Len Ruoxue heard the commotion and walked out with a smile. The moment he saw Len Ruoxue, Master Ning's anger surged and he shouted at the top of his voice, "You brat, why didn't you tell me you were back?" "Ah. I forgot. Uncle Long and the others can prove that as soon as I returned, I was immediately pulled away by the great elder of the Craftsmen's Guild headquarters to refine artifacts. If you hadn't come, they wouldn't have let me out." Len Ruoxue explained, feeling wronged. She had brought back a lot of materials for refining weapons and elixirs from Haotian continent. When the weapon fanatics and alchemy fanatics saw her, they couldn't care less about anything else. In addition, some of the materials were so rare that no one had ever seen them before, so they immediately started to study them. As for himself, he naturally couldn't escape the fate of being captured to help with research. "Humph. I knew it." The Master of the Ning family said angrily, and even turned his head arrogantly, ignoring Shuer. Len Ruoxue was helpless and could only try her best to coax Master Ning. After much difficulty, she managed to coax Master Ning, but Uncle Long refused to accept it. Uncle Long looked at Len Ruoxue with a face full of resentment and said, "Shuer, you have hostages in your hands. Why don't you hand them over to me? It just so happens that we don't have enough manpower." Not enough manpower? Len Ruoxue was speechless. She hadn't forgotten that Uncle Dragon had told her that Demon City would be completed in a month. This clearly meant that they had enough manpower. "Uncle Long, they're from the Ascender Alliance. Do you feel at ease letting them help build the land of demons?" Len Ruoxue blinked her eyes and asked calmly. "Thanks, I really can't be at ease." After thinking for a while, Uncle Long said worriedly. Humans and beasts were different. Most beasts were very honest and kept their promises, but humans. It was hard to say. Of course, there were also good ones among the humans, but not the ones from the Ascender Alliance. In Uncle Long's heart, he didn't have a good impression of the Ascender Alliance. "That's why I didn't tell you," Len Ruoxue said matter-of-factly. "It's fine if you didn't tell us, but now the Ascender Alliance is coming to find you. What are you going to do?" Uncle Long could not help but ask. "I don't know. It depends on what they want to do," Len Ruoxue said irresponsibly. Then, she took the initiative to tell the three of them about how she had formed an enmity with the Ascender Alliance. After hearing this, Master Ning was the first to get angry. "I knew that old man wasn't being honest. He didn't tell me the truth." "Well, humans are so cunning. How can you be so insincere when you ask for help?" Uncle Long was also very dissatisfied. I think we'd better wait for the Ascender Alliance to come to us. Anyway, we have to see what they think. Whether it's a war or a negotiation, we'll accompany them all. Dongfang Yu said after some thought. Yes. Uncle Long and Master Ning both nodded in agreement. Leng Ruoxue had no objections to their decision. Just like that, Leng Ruoxue and the rest did not take this matter to heart at all. After Master Ning arrived, she even took some time to accompany him so that her godfather would not complain again. They were calm and peaceful, but the Ascender Alliance's general alliance was not. Ever since the people from the Third and Fourth Alliances had fallen into Leng Ruoxue's hands, a few important figures from the General Alliance had almost gone crazy. Even though they didn't have much contact with Leng Ruoxue, they knew more about her than anyone else. They also knew that Leng Ruoxue was difficult to deal with. Hence, they had been in a frenzy recently. Especially the Alliance Master, who was so worried that his hair had turned white. At this very moment, in the Ascender General Alliance's conference room. The few people present were all influential figures in the Ascender Alliance. Even in the Divine Realm, they had a considerable status. However, at this moment, they felt extremely conflicted because of the same person. Chief, didn't you contact Master Ning? Why hasn't there been any news from Master Ning yet? The conference room, which had been silent for a long time, became lively again because of this sentence. As soon as the man finished speaking, everyone's eyes turned to the middle-aged man sitting at the head of the table. This middle-aged man was dressed in black and his aura was well hidden. However, his tall figure made it difficult for him to hide his superior aura even when he was sitting on the chair. His handsome features were extremely serious at the moment, and his tightly furrowed brows showed that he was not in a good mood. He was depressed, and not just depressed. Especially after he heard this question, his face turned even darker. Master Ning hadn't sent him any news for a long time, so he already knew that the matter wouldn't be so easy to solve. Unfortunately, some fools didn't understand this. There's no news from Master Ning. I guess there's no conclusion yet. At this moment, the young man closest to the Alliance Master said indifferently. Vice President, you're wrong. Isn't Leng Ruoxue Master Ning's goddaughter? Does she dare to disobey her own godfather's words? The person who spoke raised his question again. Fifth Elder, you also said that he's her godfather. Why should she listen? The young man raised his eyebrows and asked with a faint smile. Without Master Ning, would Leng Ruoxue have her current status in the divinity? Our Alliance Master has been kind to Master Ning, and we're asking him for a favor this time. Shouldn't Master Ning repay this favor? The Fifth Elder said matter-of-factly. Upon hearing this, the Alliance Master sitting at the head of the table frowned even more. What did he mean by he was kind to Master Ning? If these words were to spread, Old Man Ning would probably be completely angry with him. Master Ning and I only have some history, it can't be considered a favor. As for Leng Ruoxue, the fact that she's where she is today really doesn't have much to do with Master Ning. Finally, the Alliance Master spoke. How is this possible? That girl is just a woman, and she has just ascended not long ago. How could she have achieved such great success in such a short time? This is clearly the work of Master Ning. The Fifth Elder said stubbornly. Fifth Elder, don't forget that Leng Ruoxue is Master Ye's disciple. With the identity of Master Ye's disciple, wouldn't it be a piece of cake for Leng Ruoxue to occupy a piece of land in the divinity? The young man, who was the vice president that the Fifth Elder had mentioned, reminded him. But Master Yu has already passed away for many years. The Fifth Elder still wanted to argue, but before he could finish, the Alliance Master interrupted him. He's still Master Yu. The Alliance Master said seriously and gave the Fifth Elder a warning look. In the Divine Realm, while Master Yu was a taboo, it was also best not to rashly discuss matters regarding Master Yu. After all, there were many fans of Master Yu who were hidden in the dark and not known by others. If they were to find out that someone was questioning Master Ye's authority, they would definitely suffer a storm of revenge. He absolutely did not want the Ascender Alliance he had founded to become the target of the other party's revenge. No one could bear the consequences. Chapter 2686, What Happened to Us? 1. After receiving the Alliance Master's warning, the fifth elder immediately became more obedient. In reality, he was extremely depressed as well. However, he was not depressed because the third Alliance Master and the others had fallen into Leng Ruoxu's hands. He was depressed because the General Alliance did not mobilize a large force to seek Leng Ruoxue out for revenge. He couldn't understand why the Alliance Master was so afraid of a little girl. In his opinion, a little girl was not easy to deal with. However, the Alliance Master and the Vice Alliance Master did not want to fall out with Leng Ruoxue. This fact made him rather worried. He also had a stomach full of complaints to say, but seeing that the chief's expression wasn't too good, he couldn't bring himself to say those words for a while. At this moment, the fifth elder was in a dilemma. He wanted to say something, but he didn't dare to. After a long time, he couldn't help but reveal a constipated expression on his face. However, the Alliance Master of the Ascender Alliance did not think too much about it. More importantly, he suddenly felt extremely vexed as he looked at these people in front of him. With a wave of his hand, the Alliance Master ordered everyone to leave, leaving behind only his most trusted Vice Alliance Master, the young man. After a long silence, the Alliance Master did not say anything. The Vice Alliance Master sat beside him with a calm expression. It was not until he heard a sigh that the Vice President raised his eyebrows slightly, but he still did not speak. Li Jing, what do you think we should do about this? After an unknown period of time, the Alliance Master finally spoke. Alliance Master, you must think twice before you act. Leng Ruoxue isn't someone to be trifled with. She doesn't even place the Divine Master in her eyes, let alone our Ascender Alliance. Li Jing thought for a moment and spoke carefully. Although his words made the Alliance Master a little depressed, he had to admit that Li Jing was telling the truth. Leng Ruoxue definitely had the ability to be arrogant. If the Divine Master did not take her seriously, what was the Ascender Alliance? What's more, the Ascender Alliance had provoked her. AI. Thinking of this, the General Alliance Master couldn't help but sigh. This period of time could be considered the most sullen period for the Ascender Alliance. As for the conflict between the Ascender Alliance and Leng Ruoxue, although he had immediately dealt with it after the incident and forbade anyone from leaking this matter, how could this matter be hidden from the top factions? He knew that most of the top forces had probably received the news long ago and were waiting to watch a good show. Regardless of the outcome, such a matter was quite disadvantageous to the Ascender Alliance. If the Ascender Alliance were to admit defeat, then the status of the Ascender Alliance in the Divine Realm would probably plummet in the future. What qualifications would they still have to interact with some of the top powers on equal footing? However, if they were to go head-to-head with Leng Ruoxue, the outcome would probably be even worse. That little girl might be young, but she was definitely ruthless enough. If he really offended her, the Ascender Alliance might just disappear from the Divine Realm. These two outcomes were not what he, the Ascender Alliance's master, wanted. However, since things had already come to this, he seemed to be unable to think of a better way. He was worried. He was really worried. Thanks. Li Jing felt helpless when he saw the Alliance Master sighing again. In his opinion, this matter was not that difficult to handle. As long as they lowered their stance and had a good talk with Leng Ruoxue, they should be able to resolve the issue. However, the Alliance Master was obviously unwilling to do so. He also knew why the Alliance Master was unwilling. It was because he had always been high and mighty, and now he suddenly wanted to beg for mercy from a little girl. He couldn't let go of his face. Since he wanted to save face, he should not have saved the third Alliance Master and the others. In any case, he didn't feel that those people were of any use, so Li Jing couldn't help but secretly praise them. Of course, he couldn't say these words out loud, so he could only think about it in his heart. On the surface, he had to put on a concerned expression. Alliance Master, I still suggest that we have a good talk with Leng Ruoxue. Let's discuss a solution that both sides can accept. Otherwise, if this matter continues to drag on, it will affect the morale of the Ascender Alliance. Li Jing suggested after some thought. You mean we should give in? The Alliance Master asked with uncertainty. How can this be considered giving in? This is a peaceful resolution. Otherwise, if we really fight over this matter, won't it benefit others? Li Jing reminded. However, many forces are watching us now, wanting to see how we'll handle this matter. If we let Leng Ruoxue off and don't pursue the fact that she killed so many of our men, I'm afraid that we'll become a laughingstock to outsiders and think that we're afraid of Leng Ruoxue. Even the people of our alliance will be dissatisfied. The Alliance Master said in a conflicted manner. Li Jing really wanted to roll his eyes at him after hearing his words. He really didn't know what the Alliance Master was thinking. What did he mean by letting Leng Ruoxue off and not pursuing the fact that she had killed so many Ascender Alliance members? It was obvious that Leng Ruoxue didn't want to get to the bottom of this. Otherwise, the General Alliance would be in deep trouble. He still remembered the Yao family. Any faction that offended Leng Ruoxue would not have a good life. If the Yao family, one of the 8 great divine regions, did not end up well, then the Ascender Alliance could forget about it. Li Jing understood this very well and knew that Leng Ruoxue was not to be trifled with. However, the Alliance Master had fallen into a misunderstanding. He could not get past his own hurdle. He always felt that negotiating with Leng Ruoxue would make the Ascender Alliance lose face. But what could they do if they didn't negotiate? Fight? Wouldn't the losses be even greater? Moreover, the Ascender Alliance's 3rd and 4th Alliance's people were all in his hands. They could either negotiate to get her back, or they could fight their way into the demonic land to get her back. There were only these 2 methods. And it seemed that the second option was quite unrealistic. The strength of Leng Ruoxue's side. Alliance Master, I'm in favor of peace talks. Moreover, you've looked for Master Ning. Isn't it because you don't want to have a direct conflict with Leng Ruoxue and the others? Since that was the case, negotiating for peace was the best choice. You're daydreaming if you think you can get the people from the 3rd and 4th leagues back without showing up. Li Jing stood up and gave his final advice. He then bowed and left the meeting room. After Li Jing left, the Alliance Master fell into deep thought again. At the same time, the 5th elder of the Ascender Alliance was jumping up and down, trying to get the other elders to stand on his side and put pressure on the General Alliance Master. After he had shamelessly harassed the elders of the Ascender Alliance, he finally found the Great Elder, who was known for his integrity and was the least likely to be moved by his words. The 5th elder, who was sitting in the 1st elder's room, looked uneasily at the calm middle-aged man sitting opposite him. He didn't know what to say. As for the Great Elder of the Ascender Alliance, he drank his tea as if there was no one else around. He did not care if the other party had anything to say. Basically, he had already treated the other party as non-existent. After an unknown period of time, the 5th elder finally couldn't bear it anymore and asked, Great Elder, you've always been highly respected in the Ascender Alliance. You can't ignore the matters of the 3rd and 4th Alliances. Chapter 2687, What Happened to Us? 2. I didn't do anything. 1st elder sipped his tea and said lightly. Then you should have urged the Alliance Master to quickly settle the score with Leng Ruoxue so that you can avenge the people of the 3rd and 4th Alliances. When the 5th elder heard this, he was somewhat impatient. I'm just an elder. If you ask me to urge the Chief Alliance Master, wouldn't that be offending my superior? I can't do such a thing. The 1st elder shot a glance at the 5th elder and said with a disapproving look. Are we not going to take revenge for the 3rd and 4th Alliances? The 5th elder couldn't help but widen his eyes and ask in disbelief. You want to avenge the people of the 3rd and 4th Alliances? Then tell me, how should we take revenge for them? The Great Elder asked with a smile. Of course we're going to find Leng Ruoxue to settle our scores. The 5th elder said through gritted teeth. Are you going? If you want to go, I'm very willing to recommend you to the Alliance Master. The 1st elder looked at the 5th elder expectantly, as if waiting for his reply. Hearing this, the 5th elder almost choked. Fuck. If he were to seek revenge from Leng Ruoxue, Wouldn't that be like throwing a meat bun at a dog? He had to be able to defeat Leng Ruoxue and the others. First Elder, how can I be a match for Leng Ruoxue and the others? This matter needs the Alliance Master to step in personally. The fifth Elder took a deep breath before suggesting with a serious expression. You also know that Leng Ruoxue is difficult to deal with. Then what's the hurry? The first Elder was slightly displeased, and his face fell. The fifth Elder was speechless. Was this old man playing with him? Alliance Master will definitely be able to deal with Leng Ruoxue. The fifth Elder did not give up. He took a few deep breaths and calmed himself down. What if the Alliance Master can't handle it? You have to know that Leng Ruoxue's strength is not weak to begin with. She also has many godly venerable rank experts by her side. On the other hand, our Ascender Alliance only has 4 godly venerable rank experts, including Vice President Zhang Miao, who has fallen into Leng Ruoxue's hands. This number of godly venerable rank experts is not even enough to fill the gaps between the enemy's teeth. Do you think we can deal with Leng Ruoxue? The Great Elder asked calmly. So what if we can't deal with Leng Ruoxue on our own? We can join forces with other powers. The fifth Elder suggested loudly. With who? The Great Elder blinked his eyes and asked with great interest. The God Lord's estate or the Yao family will do. That's right, there were also the few other magical beasts from the Phoenix clan who had enmity with Leng Ruoxue. Weren't these the best partners? Those forces are all very powerful and have a deep grudge against Leng Ruoxue. They are the most suitable people to look for. The more the fifth Elder spoke, the more excited he became. It was as if they had already reached a cooperation agreement with the other party. Forget it. The Grand Elder shook his head. Let's forget about the Divine Master's estate. The God Lord's estate has countless enemies in the divine world. We can't be implicated by them. As for the Yao family and the Phoenix tribe, fifth Elder, if you can convince them, I can represent the Elder Council and make a suggestion to the Alliance Master. Otherwise, don't even think about it. First Elder's words were very clear. He wanted fifth Elder to contact the other forces. If they were willing to work with them to deal with Leng Ruoxue, then there would be no problem. If they were not willing, then this matter would naturally be dropped. Hearing this, although the fifth Elder's expression was a little awkward, he still nodded and said, since the Great Elder has said so, I'll go and discuss this matter with them now. With that, the fifth Elder immediately took his leave. After the fifth Elder left, Li Jing suddenly pushed open the door of the next room and entered. The Great Elder sitting on the chair glanced at the other party and said indifferently, You heard everything? Thanks, yes. Li Jing nodded. What are your thoughts? The Great Elder asked with an evil smile. He's looking for death. Li Jing said with a cold smile. Hee. It's good to let him try. When he hits the wall, hell know how difficult it is to deal with Leng Ruoxue. A cold light flashed in the first Elder's eyes as he spoke with disdain. It's fine if he's hit a wall, but I'm afraid that hell bring trouble to our Ascender Alliance. You should know that little girl, Leng Ruoxue, is a vengeful person. If things go wrong, the entire Ascender Alliance might be implicated by him. Li Jing said worriedly. I don't think so. Didn't you already send someone to contact Leng Ruoxue in private? I believe that little girl is not unreasonable. The Grand Elder said calmly. In the entire Ascender Alliance, his and Li Jing's positions were more similar. They wanted to negotiate with Leng Ruoxue and settle this matter peacefully. The General Alliance Master was hesitant and couldn't make a final decision. On the other hand, Fifth Eldress and her gang only wished for the world to be in chaos. They were bent on falling out with Leng Ruoxue. Although he didn't know why the fifth Elder was so concerned about this matter, he was sure that the guy didn't have good intentions. I hope so. Li Jing didn't think that Leng Ruoxue would give him any face. The key to this matter was still the Alliance Master. After all, the Ascender Alliance's chief still had the final say. As the Ascender Alliance's master could not make a decision, the rescue plan was temporarily put on hold. However, the fifth elder of the Ascender Alliance was busier than ever. After finding an excuse, the fifth elder left the Ascender Alliance in an imposing manner. On Len Ruoxu's side, their lives were as peaceful as ever. It was only until someone who claimed to be from the Ascender Alliance came to visit that his peaceful days were interrupted. Sitting in the living room, Len Ruoxu's beautiful eyes sized up the man in front of her. She kept feeling that he looked familiar. She seemed to have seen him somewhere before, but she was sure that she had never seen him before. The man was very young, looking less than 30 years old. He was very tall, and his blue clothes made him look even more handsome and sunny. Initially, he had a smile on his face. However, under Len Ruoxu's careful observation, his smile gradually disappeared. A trace of uneasiness uncontrollably rose in his heart. "What's your name?" Seeing that the young man seemed a little nervous, Len Ruoxu smiled and retracted her gaze. She asked politely, then invited the other party to take a seat. "Li Xiao." The young man replied, pretending to be calm. "Is there something you need?" Len Ruoxu blinked her eyes and directly asked the other party's purpose for coming. "It's my father, no. It was our vice president who sent me." Li Xiao was a little reserved. Len Ruoxu's gaze gave him too much pressure. He was so nervous that he couldn't breathe. "Oh. What did they send you here for? You want to negotiate with me?" Len Ruoxu guessed. No, Li Xiao stuttered. "If you're not here to negotiate with me, then what are you here for?" Len Ruoxu was amused by his words. Why was this person so nervous that he could not even speak clearly? "The Deputy Alliance Master sent me to tell you that the Ascender Alliance has yet to reach a consensus. After the opinions are unified, they will give you an explanation." Swallowing his saliva, Li Xiao's heart was beating wildly. He finally finished speaking. Len Ruoxu didn't know how to respond. If she didn't guess wrong, the Ascender Alliance should have long been in chaos, right? At this time, a certain Deputy Alliance Master had sent his own child over. It was obvious that he wanted to appease her so that she would not misunderstand that the Ascender Alliance was deliberately making an enemy of him. It had to be said that this Vice Alliance Master was quite considerate of the Ascender Alliance. He just didn't know if the Ascender Alliance would be grateful for his painstaking efforts. Chapter 2688, What Happened to Us? 3. I know. Len Ruoxu nodded and didn't say anything else. Hearing this, Li Xiao was a little depressed. Also, he could not tell if Len Ruoxu was happy or angry. He wouldn't be able to explain it to them when they returned. After thinking for a while, Li Xiao said, "Can I stay here for a few days? I think the environment here is not bad." He wanted to build a good relationship with Len Ruoxu and the others after he had settled down. At that time, if anything happened between the Ascender Alliance and Len Ruoxu, they might not hold it against him on account of their good relationship. He had to admit that his idea was very realistic and practical. But it was a pity that he met Len Ruoxu. Len Ruoxu knew what the other party was up to, but she still agreed to let him stay temporarily. She only stipulated that he could not leave the main residence. Li Xiao didn't have any objections to this. He was also very obedient. After staying here, he didn't do anything outrageous except occasionally chatting with Uncle Long and the others. However, following Li Xiao's arrival, something that Len Ruoxu found unbelievable happened. Li Zhong and his brothers actually recognized Li Xiao and even called him Old Ancestor. When Len Ruoxu found out about this, she felt as if she had been struck by lightning. She had to confirm it again and again until Li Zhong and the others told her with absolute certainty that Li Xiao was indeed their old ancestor. She still felt as if she was dreaming. A random person from the Ascender Alliance was actually her big brother's ancestor. Wasn't this too much of a coincidence? Len Ruoxu believed Li Zhong and the others, but she was still worried about Li Xiao. After confirming it with Li Xiao again and again, Li Xiao couldn't bear the other party's suspicious gaze anymore. He cried and promised that he was really the ancestor of Li Zhong and his brother, and he would never lie. Li Xiao had even said that if Leng Ruoxue didn't believe him, he could swear to the heavens. Leng Ruoxue saw that the other party was about to swear an oath under her pressure and immediately smiled. Of course I believe you. It's just that your intentions aren't pure. I can't let my brothers get hurt. Her words were very honest, and Li Xiao was so touched that he was in a mess. He even felt a little embarrassed for his previous thoughts. In the end, he still told Leng Ruoxue sincerely, I did stay because I want to build a good relationship with you. After all, the Ascender Alliance has different attitudes towards this matter. My father and I are afraid that some people will accidentally offend you and bring greater disaster to the Ascender Alliance. Therefore, I was sent here. My father and the Great Elder want to negotiate with you. I can be considered to represent their attitude. Therefore, please understand that I really don't have any bad intentions. After saying these words and acknowledging his own descendant, Li Xiao was not as nervous when facing Leng Ruoxue. Instead, he was more sincere. On top of that, when he found out that his juniors were the victims of the Divine Continents Alliance 3 and Alliance 4, he was so angry that he almost killed the lady of Alliance 3 and Alliance 4. Of course, not only would Leng Ruoxue not allow him to do so, Li Zhong and the rest would not allow it either. They hadn't had enough fun yet. How could he let those two die so easily? Li Xiao thought about it and felt that this made sense. He was not in a hurry to get rid of the lady of the Third Alliance and the leader of the Fourth Alliance. However, their days became more difficult after that. However, his relationship with Li Zhong and the others grew closer and closer. He also sent this matter back to the Ascender Alliance and told his father. When Li Jing found out that his descendant had come to the Divine Realm, he immediately informed the Alliance Master and rushed to Demon City without stopping. The scene of family meeting was naturally warm and lively. Uncle Long and the others were also happy that Li Zhong and his brother had found their family. They even specially arranged a celebration banquet, and everyone took this opportunity to have a good time. After reuniting with Li Zhong and the others, Li Jing was considered to have completely stood on Leng Ruoxue's side. Furthermore, he was especially grateful to Leng Ruoxue for saving his descendants. Otherwise, his little fellows would have suffered quite a bit. Naturally, Leng Ruoxue did not need him to be polite. Li Zhong and the rest were her god brothers, how could she not save them? After staying in Demon City for a few days, Li Jing knew that he could not stay any longer, so he returned to the Ascender Alliance reluctantly. Before he left, he even told Leng Ruoxue that he would definitely think of a way to get the Alliance Master to negotiate with them. Leng Ruoxue only nodded her head and did not say anything more. In reality, in Leng Ruoxue's heart, she really did not care what attitude the Ascender Alliance would use to deal with this matter. Of course, it would be best if both sides could sit down and negotiate. However, if the other party wanted to fall out with her, she was not afraid. However, with Li Jing's relationship, it was unlikely that the two sides would fall out. After Li Jing left, Li Xiao stayed behind to act as the bridge between the Ascender Alliance and Leng Ruoxue and the others. He was in charge of communicating the attitudes of both parties. Basically, Leng Ruoxue's attitude had remained the same from the start. Thanks, they had given the Ascender Alliance a great deal of choice. It's fine to negotiate or fight, but it all depends on your choice. As for Leng Ruoxue and the rest, their lives had returned to normal. After Li Jing returned to the Ascender Alliance, he was surprised to find that the Fifth Elder had also returned. However, the Fifth Elder's expression wasn't too good. Seeing this, Li Jing couldn't help but laugh secretly. Looking at the Fifth Elder's dark expression, it was obvious that he had failed. It had to be said that Li Jing was right. The travel-worn Fifth Elder had come to the Yao family's divine realm. In the beginning, he had been warmly received by the other party. However, as soon as he had explained his purpose for coming, he had been immediately chased out by the Yao family like a fly. After that, he went to a few other beast clans that had enmity with Leng Ruoxue. He didn't even manage to enter their gates before he was beaten out. It could be said that he had left in a hurry but returned in a sorry state. The Fifth Elder, whose journey had not been smooth, returned to his room and threw a tantrum, but finally stopped. Without the fifth elder's interference, Li Jing felt that it would be much easier for him to convince the Alliance Master. Unfortunately, he was still thinking too easily. Just as they were discussing again in the conference room, and the Alliance Master was wavering and was about to make a decision, a guard suddenly came to report, "Someone from the God Lord's estate has arrived." Li Jing had a bad feeling when he heard this. Nothing good could come from the God Lord's manor at this time. Then, he turned to the Alliance Master and saw that the Alliance Master was frowning. It was obvious that he did not think highly of the God Lord's mansion's purpose. However, the fifth elder, who had been listless all this time, suddenly jumped up and shouted as if he had been injected with chicken blood, "Chief Alliance Master, the God Lord's estate has sent someone here. What are we waiting for? Let's go out and welcome them." "All right then." The Alliance Master stood up and said to Li Jing, "Li Jing, come with me to welcome the Divine Master's estate's representative. All the elders can stay in the conference room." "Alliance Master, how can we do that?" Hearing this, the fifth elder was indignant. How could he not give them such an opportunity to show their face? "Why not? Don't tell me you dare to disobey me." The master scolded with a scowl. "I don't dare." The fifth elder hurriedly lowered his head, but he was extremely unwilling in his heart. Why did Li Jing have to benefit from being in the limelight, while they had no chance at all? The fifth elder was filled with grief and indignation, but more than that, he was jealous. However, at this time, neither Li Jing nor the Alliance Master cared about what the fifth elder thought. Very soon, the Alliance Master left the meeting room with Li Jing. Unwilling to give up, the fifth elder wanted to follow them out, but he was stopped by the first elder, who had been pretending to be asleep. The fifth elder had no choice but to stay in the meeting room unwillingly. As soon as Li Jing and the Alliance Master left the conference room, they went straight to the gate. According to the guard, the Divine Master's estate's representative was still standing at the gate, putting on airs and not willing to come in. The two of them invited the Divine Master's estate's representative into the living room with great respect and served him good tea and snacks. At first, the representative of the God Lord's estate had wanted to continue putting on airs and not speak, but when he saw that the other two were not saying anything, he could not hold it in. One had to know that he had guaranteed that he would definitely pull the Ascender Alliance to his side during this trip. Now that the other party did not take the initiative to ask him what was going on, how could he start? After thinking for a while, he decided to ask in a gentle and casual way, "I heard that something happened to the Ascender Alliance recently." Hearing this question, the Alliance Master and Li Jing looked at each other. After receiving the Alliance Master's signal, Li Jing blinked innocently and asked, "What happened to us?" The representative of the God Lord's manor was so angry that he was about to explode. "Why are you asking me what happened?" After taking a few deep breaths, the representative of the God Lord's estate said, "I heard that you guys have some conflicts with Leng Ruoxue. That brat killed your people from the third and fourth alliances." "There's such a thing." Li Jing's eyes widened in disbelief. "You don't have any." The representative of the God Lord's estate was furious. He truly felt that it was tiring to talk to this guy. "No, I didn't. Leng Ruoxue and I have never been in the same line," Li Jing said calmly. This time, the representative of the God Lord's estate was at a loss for words. The other party refused to admit it, so what else could he do? The anger in his heart gradually rose, and when he thought of the purpose of his trip, the representative of the God Lord's estate showed an unhappy expression. "I wouldn't have come if I didn't have enough evidence, so don't play dumb with me." Chapter 2689, Quickly Let Go of My Girl. 1. We're really not playing dumb, and there's really nothing wrong. Li Jing said very seriously, but he couldn't help but think to himself, even if I play dumb with you, what can I do? Are you going to bite me? It was the Alliance Master who asked him to represent them. If he didn't play dumb now, he wouldn't be led by the nose by the idiots in the Divine Master's estate. He wasn't that stupid. When the Alliance Master heard Li Jing's words, he had a hard time holding back his laughter. He had never known that Li Jing was so talented at lying through his teeth. When he saw that the God Lord Manor's representative's face was red with anger, he suddenly felt much more at ease. It was as if the depression he had felt during this period of time had been swept away. It seemed that seeing others being unlucky was indeed much better than being unlucky. Thinking of this, the Alliance Master became even more silent. He even wanted to pretend to be invisible. It didn't matter if he pretended to be invisible. At least Li Jing could speak on his behalf. However, a certain representative of the God Lord's estate couldn't avoid it. No matter how angry he was, he could only brace himself and deal with the two Ascender Alliance members. However, he also didn't want to see the Alliance Master Feng sitting in his seat like a wooden man without a word. He glanced at the Alliance Master and said with suspicion, "I only found out today that the Ascender Alliance's Vice Alliance Master has the final say." Then, he turned to Li Jing. "Vice Alliance Master, you said you're fine. I want to ask you, what's up with the 3 and 4 alliances of the Godly Continent? Didn't they get exterminated by Leng Ruoxue? Also, the 3rd, 4th alliances, and the Deputy General Alliance of the Firmament have fallen into Leng Ruoxue's hands. Shouldn't you explain these things to me?" The representative of the God Lord's estate said arrogantly as if he had found something that could be used against them. However, the General Alliance Master, who had remained calm even if a mountain collapsed in front of him, did not say a word. He only smiled at the representative of the God Lord's estate and lowered his head to look at the ground. Li Jing laughed as well, his laughter rippling. He said in a calm and composed manner, "Your Excellency, what you said is just a trivial matter. We, the Ascender Alliance, did not take it to heart at all. More importantly, these are the internal affairs of our Ascender Alliance. Do I have the obligation to explain it to you clearly?" His words were a little impolite. It was obvious that he was saying that the Divine Master's estate was a busybody. The Divine Master's estate representative was furious when he heard this. He stood up from his seat and shouted, "Li Jing, you really don't want to accept a toast only to drink a forfeit. Our God Lord's estate was kind enough to help you solve your problem, but you don't appreciate it. Humph. You really don't know what's good for you. You'll regret this one day." After shouting this, the representative of the God Lord's estate flicked his sleeves and left angrily. Watching the back of the God Lord's estate's representative, the two people sitting in the living room did not chase after him. However, the chief still said with a conflicted expression, "Is it all right for us to offend the Divine Master's estate like this?" "Chief, unless you want to submit to the God Lord's mansion," Li Jing said indifferently. "Why would I want to submit to the Divine Master's estate? I don't have any good feelings towards the Divine Master's estate." The Alliance Master quickly denied. "So what if I don't offend them? If I don't say something harsh, the people of the God Lord's estate won't give up." Li Jing said very calmly. "What you said makes sense." The Alliance Master nodded in agreement and didn't dwell on this matter anymore. He had already offended her, so what else could he do? Seeing that the General Master's mood wasn't affected by the God Lord Manor's representative, Li Jing took the opportunity to do his job as the General Master. As for the God Lord's estate's representative, after leaving the Ascender's General Union in a rage, he didn't leave immediately. Instead, he stayed in an inn in the city. The God Lord's estate's representative was unwilling to give up since he had not completed his mission. Thus, he had contacted the elders of the Ascender Alliance in private. The first person that a representative who had investigated the Ascender Alliance contacted was the 5th elder. After the two of them had a good chat in the room, the representative seemed to have promised the 5th elder some conditions, and the 5th elder became active again, as if he had been injected with chicken blood. He once again secretly tried to win over the 5th elder of the Ascender Alliance. Thanks of course, the people he had privately looked for this time were those who had a good relationship with him and were closer to him. It was because this matter was too important to him. He hesitated for a few days. The Alliance Master finally made a decision. He wanted to personally head to the land of demons to negotiate with Leng Ruoxue. When Li Jing heard the Alliance Master's decision, he was naturally delighted and expressed that he was willing to go with them. The first elder, on the other hand, stayed at home to keep watch. Just as Li Jing and the Alliance Master were ready to set off, the Ascender Alliance was in chaos. A portion of the elders, led by the fifth elder, had betrayed them. Glancing at the fifth elder and the others who were leading a large group of fiendish-looking men in black and blocking the Ascendant's General Alliance's courtyard, Li Jingmei raised his eyebrows slightly, but he still asked calmly, "Fifth elder, what is the meaning of this?" "Ha ha ha. We won't allow you to negotiate with Len Ruoxue." The fifth elder laughed arrogantly, his face full of pride. Li Jing furrowed his brows when he heard this. "They just don't want us to negotiate with Len Ruoxue? Or do you have another purpose?" "Hee, Vice General Li Jing is really smart. I knew I couldn't hide anything from you. Fortunately, I did it in secret this time." "You're right, not allowing you guys to look for Len Ruoxue is only one aspect. On the other hand, I feel that it's time to change the Ascender Grand Master and Vice Grand Master, don't you think so?" As the fifth elder spoke, he turned around and asked the person behind him. The elder beside him immediately agreed, "That's right. We can't just watch the Alliance Master do something wrong, so we're going to impeach the Alliance Master and Vice Alliance Master." These words were righteous, but in the General Alliance Master's ears, it was full of sarcasm. They clearly wanted to force them to abdicate, but they could still say it so arrogantly. Why didn't he realize how shameless these people were before? At this moment, the Alliance Master was very regretful. It seemed like he had indulged them too much in the past and given them too much power. Otherwise, how would they dare to betray him? How would the people from the Third and Fourth Alliances dare to disobey his orders and find trouble with Len Ruoxue behind his back? But now, what was the use of blaming himself? With this thought in mind, the Alliance Master became calmer. He laughed coldly and looked up at the fifth elder with his dark, starry eyes. "Fifth elder, can you explain where these black-robed men came from?" Just as the fifth elder was hesitating whether to say it or not, another voice suddenly sounded, "They're all my people." The one who had spoken was the representative of the God Lord's estate, who had parted on bad terms with Li Jing and the Alliance Master. At this moment, a certain representative was in high spirits, looking at Li Jing and the Alliance Master as if they were prisoners. "Since you're a member of the Divine Master's estate, why do you care about the matters of our Ascender Alliance? Wasn't the Divine Master's estate's hand stretching out too far? Or does the House of God want to take the lead in breaking the rules?" The Alliance Master asked calmly. Chapter 2690, Quickly Let Go of My Girl. 2. According to the unspoken rules of the divinity, if there was a conflict between two forces, unless one of them requested the God Lord's estate to uphold justice, the God Lord's estate could not intervene on their own accord. When one side asked the Divine Lord to show up, the conflict between the two sides had to be made public. The Divine Lord's office had to make a fair judgment without any bias. Otherwise, it would go against the Divine Lord's office's fairness and justice. Now, neither they nor Len Ruoxue's side had requested for the God Lord's estate to step in. Yet, the God Lord's estate had extended their hand. This in itself had violated some of the tacit rules of the God world. However, when he thought about the situation of the Lord God's manor, it seemed that the Lord God's manor had lost its fair and just image in many people's hearts since the last bounty incident. It was not so strange that they could do such a thing. But even so, the Alliance Master was still extremely angry with the actions of the Divine Master's estate, especially when some idiots from the Ascender Alliance had also participated in this matter. This made him even more furious. "Ha ha ha. How could our God Lord's estate break the rules? It was your fifth elder and the others who strongly requested for us to intervene in this matter. Otherwise, we wouldn't have meddled in this." The representative of the God Lord's estate laughed complacently. He couldn't help but complain in his heart. If he hadn't promised the fifth elder so many benefits, why would that old man be willing to be used by him? He's not the Alliance Master, what right does he have to make such a request? Your God Lord's estate actually listens to an elder. This is really disappointing. The Alliance Master roared with a dark face. "This is none of my business. It's the fifth elder and the others who feel that you don't have the right to be the chief and want to impeach you and the vice chief. I saw that he had a good reason, so I stood on the side of justice and helped him a little. The God Lord's estate's representative found an excuse for himself. However, both Li Jing and the Alliance Master scoffed at his words. Chief, don't waste your breath on them. We have no choice but to fight. Li Jing reminded. The Alliance Master nodded, and the two of them were ready to attack. As the saying went, to catch a thief, you must first catch the leader. Therefore, both of them targeted the representative of the God Lord's estate and attacked one of them at the same time. However, the representative of the God Lord's estate calmly raised his hand, and then Li Jing and the Alliance Master, who were in the middle of the attack, felt their bodies go soft and fell to the ground. At this moment, the two of them could not exert any strength at all. Although their bodies were weak, their minds were extremely clear. What did you do to us? Li Jing looked at the representative of the Divine Master's estate in anger and roared. Yo! He's quite energetic. Hee hee. I didn't do anything to you, I just used some extreme means to subdue you. Who asked me to not be your opponent? The representative of the God Lord's estate replied with a smile. Li Jing felt hatred in his heart when he saw his smug look. Damn it! He didn't expect that he would actually fall for it. The other party was really too despicable. The Alliance Master was equally hateful. Ever since he had become famous, he had never been treated like this. But today, he felt an unprecedented humiliation. His sharp eyes glared fiercely at the Divine Master's estate's representative. The Chief Alliance Master said in a cold voice, "You'd better pray that I don't have a chance to be saved. Otherwise, you'll definitely not end well. Don't worry, no one can save you." The God Lord's estate's representative guaranteed. Then, he gave the fifth elder a look. The fifth elder understood and immediately brought his men to capture the first elder and the others. However, the first elder and the others didn't resist, which puzzled the fifth elder. Thanks, first elder, why aren't you resisting? The fifth elder asked in confusion. Is there any use resisting? The General Union and the Vice Union Master have been captured, and we're not as strong as them. The first elder glanced at the fifth elder and said calmly. Ha ha ha. Great elder was still the tactful one. Don't worry, as long as you're obedient, I won't kill you. The representative of the God Lord's estate laughed cheekily. It was clear that the Grand Elder's words had pleased him. However, the fifth elder was not willing to see the representative of the God Lord's estate admire the Great Elder too much. He went to the side of the God Lord's estate's representative and fawned, Your Excellency, from today onwards, I should be the Ascender Alliance's chief, right? Yes, do your best for the Divine Master. He won't mistreat you. The representative of the God Lord's estate said. I won't let the Divine Master down. Oh right, that Leng Ruoxue, fifth elder asked again. Leng Ruoxue is nothing to be afraid of. Our Divine Master will take care of her. The God Lord's estate's representative boasted. That's good. The fifth elder was finally at ease. Soon after, he gave an order, and Li Jing, the General Alliance Master, and the others were all locked up in the Ascender General Alliance's prison. While they were in prison, the fifth elder came to visit them almost once a day. Of course, he wasn't going to visit them. He was going to mock them and watch the show. The people in the prison were well aware of this. Therefore, no matter how depressed they were, they remained calm on the surface. Li Jing, in particular, would mock the fifth elder from time to time, causing the fifth elder to fly into a rage every time, but there was nothing he could do about it. At most, he would kick him a few times in anger, but he did not dare to kick him too hard. This was because the God Lord Manor's representative had said that Li Jing and the Chief Alliance Master were still of great use and had to be alive. The fifth elder did not dare to disobey the other party's words. After a major change happened in the Ascender Alliance, the news was immediately blocked. Therefore, the outside world was still unaware that an earth-shaking earthquake had occurred in the Ascender Alliance. Li Xiao started to worry after she couldn't contact her father no matter how hard she tried. However, he was also afraid that he had made a mistake in being paranoid. Hence, after enduring for a few days and not being able to contact Li Jing, he went to look for Leng Ruoxue in a panic. At this moment, Leng Ruoxue was in the Bengal, discussing with the first elder of the Armament Guild headquarters about the matter of refining armaments. When she heard Li Xiao calling for her loudly from outside her room, she helplessly put down the matter at hand and walked out of the Bengal. The moment she saw Leng Ruoxue, Li Xiao immediately grabbed her hand and said anxiously, "Shuer, something must have happened to my father." "Don't be anxious, speak slowly." Leng Ruoxue consoled. "I can't contact him, something must have happened to him." Could it be that the Alliance Master did not agree with his opinion and felt that he had betrayed the Ascender Alliance, so he locked him up? Li Xiao guessed anxiously. "I don't think so." Leng Ruoxue blinked her eyes. She really wanted to tell Li Xiao that she was thinking too much. Li Jing wasn't so stupid as to reveal his own trump card first. "Shuer, I can't be wrong. There are many factions in the Ascender Alliance. If someone knows the relationship between my father and you, there will definitely be people who will hit you when you're down. In case it causes the Alliance Master's suspicion, my father will most likely be convicted as a traitor. I know them too well." Li Xiao sobbed, his eyes filled with tears, but he forced them back. Chapter 2691, Quickly Let Go of My Girl, 3. Seeing him like this, Leng Ruoxue didn't know how to comfort him. If his guess was right, then she really couldn't just ignore the fact that something had happened to her godbrother's ancestor. After some thought, Leng Ruoxue said seriously, "Li Xiao, you don't have to worry too much. I'll discuss this matter with Uncle Long and the others to see what we can do." "Shuer, I'll have to trouble you," Li Xiao said, somewhat embarrassed. "It's no trouble at all. Just wait for my news." Leng Ruoxue turned around and left the courtyard. He had only taken 2 steps when a white bolt of lightning suddenly rushed into his arms and found a good place to lie down. Leng Ruoxue glanced at the little white furball in her arms and said helplessly, "Azure, you've come out of seclusion." Only after she returned did she find out that Azure was in closed-door cultivation. When she heard the news, she was baffled. As a tool spirit that had cultivated for tens of thousands of years, was there still a need for it to go into seclusion? Hee. "I didn't go into seclusion, I just took a nap." Now that he had woken up, Niu had also returned. "That's good." Tsang was still in his cat form. He stretched lazily and said with a smile. Then, he snuggled into Leng Ruoxue's arms and acted coquettishly. "You." Leng Ruoxue was helpless. She knew it. How could Azure go into closed-door cultivation for no reason? So he went to sleep. As the man and beast conversed, they had already reached the living room. Uncle Long, Dongfang Yu, and the others were currently looking at Demon City's blueprint. It was unknown what they were discussing. When they sensed Leng Ruoxue's arrival, everyone raised their heads in unison. "Shuer, that old man is willing to let you out." Master Ning looked at Leng Ruoxue with a face full of dissatisfaction as he complained. "Yes, I came out for something." Leng Ruoxue smiled. "What is it?" Uncle Long asked with a frown. Shuer wouldn't show up unless there was something important, but once she did, it would definitely be something big, so he was a little worried. "Li Xiao told me that Li Jing seemed to have met with an accident." Leng Ruoxue said bluntly. "How could this be? That guy isn't weak, and he's a reverent god, so he shouldn't be in trouble that easily." Uncle Long didn't believe it. After spending a few days with Li Jing, he knew very well how sinister and cunning that human was. Nothing would happen to him even if something happened to anyone. But Li Xiao said that he can't be contacted. "Uncle Long, do you think we should send someone to take a look? What if something really happened?" Leng Ruoxue suggested. "Who's Li Jing?" At this moment, Azure, who heard the name of a stranger, couldn't help but ask. "The Ascender Alliance's Vice-Alliance Master, and also my godbrother's ancestor." Leng Ruoxue explained. "It seems like many things happened while I was sleeping." Leng Ruoxue was speechless. This was not the main point, okay? There's no need to go and see. Something has indeed happened to the Ascender Alliance, Sung said with a frown. It had just used its divine sense to investigate and found that there were many subordinates of the Mist Ripple Bitch. What? Hearing this, everyone present couldn't help but stand up from their chairs. Because what Sung said was true. Something had indeed happened to the Ascender Alliance. And not that something had happened to Li Jing. What did this mean? Senior Azure, can you explain yourself? Master Ning said carefully. Their divine senses could not see that far away, and they could not use their divine senses to check on others in the divine realm. Otherwise, they would cause disputes if they were discovered. However, as the spirit of the God-protecting tower, Sung had no such concerns. If you're looking for someone called Li Jing, I've found one in the prison of the Ascender General Alliance. Moreover, he's not the only one in that prison. There's also someone called the General Alliance Master. Azure smiled faintly. The person known as the Alliance Master is also locked up in a cell? Master Ning asked in surprise. Yup. There seems to be a great elder and a group of small shrimps. Azure added. Everyone present was speechless. Something had happened to the Ascender Alliance. Everyone found it unbelievable. One must know that the Ascender Alliance was also one of the top forces and its strength was definitely not weak. Who could have caused them to be in trouble? Could it be the doing of the Divine Master's estate? Is it the Divine Lord's estate? Uncle Long wanted to confirm. Yes. Sung nodded and didn't keep him in suspense. Hearing this, there was a moment of silence. Thanks. Why couldn't this God Lord's estate be more peaceful? Wasn't Wu Chen seriously injured? Could it be that he had recovered so quickly and was planning to come out again? Uncle Long, Godfather, since the God Lord's estate has made a move on the Ascender Alliance, we have to take care of this matter. The Ascender Alliance must not fall into the hands of Wu Cheng. Len Ruoxue said seriously. The Ascender Alliance wasn't weak in the deity world. If they became Wu Xian's dog, it would cause trouble for them. She definitely didn't want to see such a thing happen. Otherwise, she would have dealt a fatal blow to the Ascender Alliance back then. Yes, Schwarer. Let's make a trip to the Ascender Alliance and rescue Li Jing and the others. Uncle Long and the others nodded in agreement. You guys stay at home, I'll go with Schwarer. Azure spoke again. Ah. Uncle Long and the others were dumbfounded. Was he looking down on them for being in the way? They're just a few small fries, there's no need for you to mobilize so many people. Azure continued. If Senior Tsung went, wouldn't that be considered a big move? Everyone couldn't help but secretly mutter to themselves. However, they absolutely didn't dare to say these words out loud, or else Senior Tsung would definitely be furious. Thinking about Azure's violence, everyone couldn't help but shiver. Helplessly, they nodded in agreement. In fact, they had no choice but to agree. Before they set off, Feng Zhan and Li Xiao had strongly requested to follow them. However, Tsung only glanced at them indifferently, and Feng Zhan immediately shut his mouth. However, he still didn't give up and mumbled softly, with me here, we can fly faster. No matter how fast you are, can you be faster than me? When Azure heard this, his mouth twitched and he said in disdain. This time, Feng Zhan was truly speechless. Although Azure couldn't fly, he could teleport. Even a supreme god couldn't catch up to him, so he really couldn't. After dealing with Feng Zhan, Tsung started to deal with Li Xiao. He looked at Li Xiao with extreme disdain and said, "You're just a weak child from a previous marriage, you should just stay at home. Don't drag us down." Hearing this, Li Xiao's heart was filled with tears. He was a divine emperor after all. Why did this cat say that he was a burden? And a weak child from a previous marriage? This was a huge blow to him. However, when he saw that everyone agreed with the cat's words, Li Xiao did not dare to reply. No matter how blind he was, he could tell that this cat had a high status in everyone's hearts. He really did not dare to provoke a cat like this. Especially when he saw that no one objected when the palm-sized white cat said that it wanted to go with Leng Ruoxue to save the people. He knew that this cat was not someone he could afford to offend. However, why had he never heard of such a cat by Leng Ruoxue's side? With a stomach full of questions, Li Xiao and the rest watched as Leng Ruoxue and Sung teleported and disappeared from the main entrance. At this moment, an extremely resentful voice came from the crowd of people who were sending them off. I can become invisible, but Master didn't even bring me along. Wu Ling was the one who was sobbing. He was extremely sad. Everyone looked at him with sympathy, not knowing how to comfort him. In everyone's understanding, with Tsang personally making a move, it was impossible for Shuai to keep a low profile and save the person without anyone knowing. With that, Ling would naturally be of no use. What invisibility! Those were all fleeting clouds. Whatever Tsang wanted to do, he would always do as he pleased. It could be said that Azure didn't know what invisibility was. When it was in a good or bad mood, it preferred to use violence against violence. However, if Leng Ruoxue wanted to move stealthily, Azure would not object. But this time, Leng Ruoxue did not make such a request. So, Tsang naturally thought that Niu also agreed with its idea. Azure's speed was indeed fast. In less than an hour, Tsang had brought Leng Ruoxue to the Ascender Alliance's territory. When they arrived at their destination, the man and beast walked on the Ascender Alliance's streets as if there was no one else around. The moment the 5 Alliance Masters, who had rushed over after hearing the news, saw this, they immediately wanted to pull Leng Ruoxue to a corner with no one. When Tsang, who was being hugged by Leng Ruoxue, saw this, he immediately bared his teeth and shouted, "Bastard! What do you want to do? Quickly let go of my girl." Seeing that someone was trying to take advantage of his girl, Tsang was so angry that all his white fur stood on end. 2 sharp and cold lights shot out from his cold eyes, scaring the 5th Union Master so much that he immediately let go and hurriedly explained, "Don't misunderstand, I have something to report to this little ancestor. If you have something to say, say it. If you have something to fart, then let it out. Why are you touching me? You can't even take advantage of me." Azure was still very angry, and it even felt that the other party's explanation was a little too obvious. Humph. That's what bad guys say when they want to take advantage of others. Taking advantage of others is not human. Azure's brain automatically filled in the blanks. Leng Ruoxue broke out in a cold sweat. Tsang's thoughts. Hearing this, the 5th Alliance Master burst into tears. He did not have the guts to take advantage of this ancestor. He was just too excited and accidentally tugged on Leng Ruoxue's arm. Was he taking advantage of her? Don't malign me like this, okay? He was really aggrieved. The 5th Alliance Master looked at Leng Ruoxue with hidden bitterness, hoping that she would speak up for him. However, Leng Ruoxue ignored the pleading in his eyes and asked directly, "If you have something to say, just say it." "My ancestors. It's not convenient to talk here, there are many people watching." The 5th Alliance Master warned with a bitter face. "What are you afraid of? They've already found out that you came to find me, so there's no need to hide." Leng Ruoxue said nonchalantly. She had long known that there were people following her and Sung in the shadows. Now that the 5 Alliance Masters had come to look for her, she did not believe that the cooperation between the two of them could still be hidden. Since that was the case, there was no need to do anything unnecessary. Chapter 2692, A Beautiful Misunderstanding. 1. Leng Ruoxue was very calm, but the 5 Alliance Masters couldn't be like her. However, it did make sense after some thought. He had already come to see Leng Ruoxue, so the news of their meeting must have spread to the General Alliance. After thinking this way, the 5th Master nodded and said straightforwardly, "The General Union is having an earthquake." Just this. TSK. We already knew. When Azure heard this, he said with some disdain. It thought that this guy had something important to do. It turned out to be a follow-up attack. You know. How did this happen? He thought he was very fast. The fifth alliance master was extremely conflicted. Under Azure's disdainful gaze, he didn't know what to do. Seeing the constipated expression on the fifth master's face, Leng Ruoxue nodded her head kindly. We already know about it. That's why we're here. I thought, the fifth alliance master could not continue. Your news is indeed a little late. Leng Ruoxue sighed. That's right. Their work efficiency is really bad. Song interjected from the side. Hearing this, the fifth alliance master was so depressed that he didn't know what to do. After hesitating for a while, he explained, I also wanted to tell you the news as soon as possible, but the entire Ascender Alliance has been blocked. The news can't be spread. It's fine. Leng Ruoxue expressed that she did not mind. She then smiled at the fifth alliance master and said, Are you going to take us to the General Union? Yes, you can. The fifth master stammered. He had wanted to refuse, but then he thought that this was a good opportunity to make a contribution, so he didn't want to let go of this opportunity. After that, his eyes started to search behind Leng Ruoxue. Seeing this, Leng Ruoxue was puzzled and asked, Alliance Master 5, what are you looking for? Hurry up and lead the way. Miss Leng, where are your subordinates? The fifth master couldn't help but ask. No, it's just the two of us. Leng Ruoxue pointed at the little cat in her arms. Ah! The five alliance masters were shocked. A human and a cat wanted to go to the General Alliance. To do what? Was he going to die? He was afraid. In this situation, it was obvious that he wouldn't get any benefits from the General Alliance. Did he still want to go? The fifth master was very regretful. He felt that he had agreed too early. Now, he was riding on a tiger and couldn't stop. If he didn't go, he didn't know if the kitten's sharp claws would tear him into pieces. Because he had already caught sight of the kitten's sharp claws hidden in the gaps between its toes. In just a few minutes, the fifth master thought about many things. In the end, he couldn't help but remind her, Miss Leng, they have a lot of people, and you only have 2 people. The ratio of the people is a bit different. More people make things easier. The 5 alliance masters felt that his words were very subtle, but in Sang's ears, it was not the case at all. Sang thought that this guy in front of him was clearly looking down on his combat strength. What was a mere ant to him? It could deal with it with 1 claw. However, although Sang was somewhat angry, he miraculously didn't say anything. This further confirmed the 5 alliance masters' suspicions and made them even more worried. Leng Ruoxue noticed the obvious nervousness on the 5th master's face and smiled. The 2 of us are enough. The others have things to do and can't come here. Thanks, but the other side had a lot of people. The 5th alliance master wanted to cry, but no tears came out. He wanted to say something, but after the cat casually glanced at him, he couldn't say anything. He was very worried. He was going to the General Alliance with them to make a contribution, not to die. Unfortunately, Leng Ruoxue couldn't care less about what the 5 Union Masters thought. She felt that her demon city was still under construction, so how could she stop the construction just because of the Ascender Alliance? Besides, there was no need for that. Therefore, she really could not understand why the 5th master was so conflicted. Looking at the 5th master's timid expression, Leng Ruoxue patted his shoulder and said, Show us your manliness. We're not afraid, so what are you afraid of? Of course he was afraid. After hearing this, the 5th master felt even more resentful. He felt that he had really made a mistake. He didn't know if he could still keep his life after going to the General Alliance. Sob. The 5th alliance master was filled with regret. Why did he take the initiative to show Leng Ruoxue the way? Wasn't this self-inflicted? However, no matter what he was thinking now, it was impossible for him to back out. Thus, he made up his mind and said, Miss Leng, how about I go back and bring some people over? Your people? Will that do? Leng Ruoxue was a little suspicious. It wasn't that she wanted to attack the other party, but the 5 alliances were the weakest under the Ascender Alliance. The 5th Alliance Master was in tears. Leng Ruoxue was stabbing a knife into his heart. He was really accurate. At this time, Colt opened his mouth. It's good to bring some people, but they'll at most be our audience and cheer for us. Sang's words settled the attitude of the 5 Alliance Masters' subordinates. The 5 Alliance Masters accepted their fate. He didn't believe that his people wouldn't be able to help. With this thought in mind, the 5 Alliance Masters immediately returned to their encampment to gather their men. They also agreed to wait at the teleportation array with Leng Ruoxue. Just as Leng Ruoxue and Sang Bai were standing beside the teleportation array in boredom, the teleportation array suddenly lit up. Leng Ruoxue raised her brows and saw a group of people walking out from the teleportation array. The man in the lead looked familiar, but Leng Ruoxue could not remember where she had seen him before. "Miss Leng, it's great to meet you here." The man in the lead exclaimed in surprise the moment he saw Leng Ruoxue, who was beside the teleportation array. "You," Leng Ruoxue frowned, feeling puzzled. Did she know this man? The man burst into tears. From Leng Ruoxue's expression, it was obvious that she had forgotten about him. After thinking for a while, the man couldn't help but say, "Miss Leng, we met on the godly mainland. I was sent to deal with you. Have you forgotten?" She had really forgotten. However, with the man's reminder, Leng Ruoxue finally remembered. She said in realization, "So it's you." Seeing that Leng Ruoxue had remembered, the man was very happy. However, before he could show his happiness or have a chance to catch up with Leng Ruoxue, Sang, who heard everything, immediately exploded and shouted, "You dare to bully my girl?" He was really tired of living. "I won't let you off. Just you wait. You bastard." What had its girl experienced before? Why did some random people dare to bully her? No. It would never allow such a thing to happen. Azure decided that when he had the time, he would definitely teach those who bullied Nyo a good lesson. He had to make them remember that not everyone could bully his Nyo. Chapter 2693, A Beautiful Misunderstanding, 2. Thinking of this, Azure deliberately released some of his pressure, causing the man's face to turn pale with fright. He quickly explained, "I didn't bully Miss Leng. I was just following orders. Moreover, I even surrendered at that time. It's true. Miss Leng can be a witness." "Woo, this cat is so fierce." The man didn't dare to let it misunderstand, so after explaining, he immediately looked at Leng Ruoxue, hoping that she could say something nice for him. At the very least, she had to comfort this angry cat. "Yes, he didn't bully me. He has also surrendered." Seeing this, Leng Ruoxue hurriedly spoke the truth. Otherwise, Zhang might really kill the other party in a fit of anger. Hearing this, Azure's expression became slightly better, but he still asked fiercely, "Whose order did you follow?" Second Alliance Master." The man didn't dare to hide anything. "Second Alliance Master, right? Very good, I won't let him go, he's dead." Azure gritted his teeth and shouted. "He's already dead. I'm the Second Alliance Master now. Please don't misunderstand." The man choked. He felt that he had really encountered an undeserved disaster. How could he have encountered such a thing? How unlucky. "I see." Looking at the man in front of him and then at Leng Ruoxue, Zhang decided to let the other party off. However, he still warned, "Kid, follow my girl in the future. I guarantee you'll have meat to eat." "Yes, actually I'm here to look for Miss Leng." When the man heard this, he immediately expressed his stance. "If you have something to say, say it." Leng Ruoxue asked out of curiosity. "Miss Leng, something big has happened in the Ascender Alliance. I wonder if you are interested." The man, who was the current Second Alliance Master, asked in a low voice. "What, you want to take the opportunity to climb up the ranks?" Leng Ruoxue was very straightforward. After hearing this, the Second Alliance Master didn't know how to react. Could he not be so realistic? Although he did have that thought, he wouldn't have come to look for Leng Ruoxue the moment he found out that she had arrived at the Ascender Alliance. TSK. Hypocritical. You obviously want to, but you still pretend to be so noble. Seeing that the second Alliance Master didn't speak, Tsang said with a look of disdain. All right. I do have that thought, but other than Miss Leng, I don't know who to look for this kind of thing. The second Alliance Master finally spoke the truth. This matter was definitely a great opportunity to rise in power. If he didn't grasp it, he would be a fool. Furthermore, he had already thought about it for a long time. He felt that in the entire immortal realm, other than Leng Ruoxue, there was no one else who would dare to interfere in this matter. However, he did not know if Leng Ruoxue would be willing to bring him along. Now that he was the one asking for help, the second Alliance Master couldn't help but lower his stance. We can help you, but you have to listen to my girl in the future. Before Leng Ruoxue could speak, Tsang made the decision. No problem. I've always respected Miss Leng. The second Alliance Master expressed his feelings. That's for the best, but you still have to make an oath after it's done, Tsang insisted. Thanks, I can swear it now. The second Alliance Master immediately said, wanting to leave a good impression. You're quite tactful. Since that's the case, then swear. We won't mistreat you after this. Tsang Yunnoa said. The second Alliance Master was very happy to hear this. He felt that it was understandable to make an oath. After all, who would believe an outsider for no reason? Hence, he did not hesitate to swear a loyalty oath to Leng Ruoxue. He also stated that he would not do anything to harm Leng Ruoxue. Otherwise, he would be severely punished by the rules of heaven and earth. Azure was satisfied and looked at the second Alliance Master much better. In fact, even if he didn't make the other party swear, he believed that the other party wouldn't dare to do anything harmful to his own girl. However, wouldn't it save them a lot of trouble if they made an oath? Right at this moment, the fifth Union Master had also arrived at the teleportation array with his team. Seeing the second Master, the fifth Master couldn't help but widen his eyes and ask loudly, Second Alliance Master, what are you doing here? Alliance Master 5 was a little uneasy. Nothing good could come out of the second Alliance Master's visit. He didn't want the other party to snatch away his great opportunity, even though he didn't think Leng Ruoxue and that cat would do well. This wasn't because they doubted their strength, but because the number of people on the two sides was clearly not on the same level. I'm here to look for Miss Leng. The second Alliance Master said confidently, but he couldn't help but sneer in his heart. He knew about the other party's relationship with Leng Ruoxue. However, they were both grasshoppers on Leng Ruoxue's vine now, so he didn't expose the fifth Alliance Master. What is it? The fifth Alliance Master had a look of vigilance on his face. He couldn't help but think to himself, when did the second Alliance Master have a relationship with Leng Ruoxue? Why didn't I know about it? He's here to work with us. He has the same goal as you, so we're all comrades now. You guys have to get along well in the future, understand? Seeing the tension in the air, Azure smiled faintly and explained. Hearing this, the second Alliance Master was very calm, but the fifth Alliance Master was a little conflicted and depressed. What the hell is this? Originally, he was the only one who would benefit, but now, the second Alliance Master was suddenly competing with him. This made him feel extremely unbalanced, as if something important was about to leave him. He felt a little pained. Tsang looked disdainfully at the narrow-minded fifth master and gave Leng Ruoxue a look. The man and beast then stepped into the teleportation array. Wait, seeing that Leng Ruoxue had left, the fifth Alliance Master wanted to call out to her but was suddenly pulled back by the second Alliance Master. The second Master glanced at the fifth Master indifferently and said earnestly, Alliance Master 5. One must be smart and know how to put in practice. Otherwise, if you make our sugar daddy unhappy, won't we be the unlucky ones? What do you mean by that? The fifth Alliance Master didn't react in time. Do you think you can take all the benefits for yourself? I'm telling you, stop dreaming. If you make Leng Ruoxue unhappy, well, end up with nothing and you'll have to cry, so be good, okay? Well, just do whatever they say. More importantly, in front of Leng Ruoxue, it's best for us to appear to be more harmonious. Understand? Even if you're pretending. The second alliance master warned. I understand. The second master's words immediately alerted the fifth master. His earlier behavior had obviously angered the cat. He could not let this go on because he could feel that the cat had a very important place in Leng Ruoxue's heart. Otherwise, it would not make decisions for Leng Ruoxue. AI. When he thought about his performance just now, he felt that he had already made Leng Ruoxue and the cat unhappy. Woo! What should he do? He was at a loss. The second alliance master looked at him, and the anger in his heart rose. How useless! No wonder he could only be the fifth alliance master. The second alliance master said, but he still had to put on a friendly expression and placate her, be careful in the future and perform well. Now, let's quickly catch up to Leng Ruoxue and the others. Chapter 2694, A Beautiful Misunderstanding, 3, Alliance Master 5 naturally didn't object to Alliance Master 2's suggestion. The two of them led their subordinates into the teleportation formation. When they arrived at the General Union, they were surprised to find Leng Ruoxue waiting for them at the teleportation array with Tsang in her arms. Have we reached an agreement? Leng Ruoxue said nonchalantly. When the two heard this, they were shocked and quickly nodded. Well, live in harmony. That's for the best. No matter what you're thinking, don't drag me down. He said. Leng Ruoxue warned. Understood, we will do our best. The two of them promised. Leng Ruoxue nodded and said, let's go to the General Union's encampment. I'll lead the way. The five alliance masters said. After he finished speaking, he walked straight to the front. Leng Ruoxue followed behind him, followed by the second alliance master and his subordinates. As soon as their team appeared, they attracted a lot of attention on the streets of the General Union. Many brave people were talking about them in private, but no one knew what they were doing here. Suddenly, someone recognized Leng Ruoxue. This time, all the onlookers exploded. What is Leng Ruoxue doing here? Did the fifth and second master work together to capture him? It's possible. Hee hee. It seems like Leng Ruoxue isn't that great after all. The discussion of the crowd naturally could not escape the ears of Leng Ruoxue and the rest. When they heard this, Leng Ruoxue and the rest were all speechless. Alliance Master 2, Alliance Master 5, and the rest were so nervous that their hearts were trembling. They were afraid that the passers-by's comments would anger Leng Ruoxue. However, Leng Ruoxue obviously didn't lower herself to the level of the passers-by. She continued to carry Azure and walked on the road calmly. When the onlookers saw that the other party didn't refute their words at all, they were even more certain of their speculations. The second and fifth alliance masters' hearts, which had been in their throats, finally settled down when they finally arrived at the Ascender General Alliance's encampment with great difficulty. Wiping the cold sweat on his forehead, the second alliance master couldn't help but explain, Miss Leng, don't mind the words of those passers-by. They don't know the current situation of the Ascender Alliance at all. Otherwise, they wouldn't be discussing it like this. Yup. That's right. Only the higher-ups of the Union know about the General Union, and the news hasn't spread yet, so don't listen to their nonsense. The fifth alliance master said, not to be outdone. You're overthinking it. Do I look like I mind? However, if you can hand me over to the people of the Divine Master's estate, you'll have done a great service. Leng Ruoxue laughed lightly as she teased. The second and fifth masters broke out in cold sweat. Hand Leng Ruoxue over to the Divine Master's residence? Did they have the guts? Ha ha ha. Alliance Master 2, Alliance Master 5, you've done a great job this time. At this moment, a proud voice rang in Leng Ruoxue and the rest's ears. Following that, the arrogant fifth elder led a group of elders and walked out of the main entrance of the General Alliance's encampment. He glanced arrogantly at Leng Ruoxue, who was standing at the main entrance. Then, he turned his loving gaze to the second and fifth masters and praised them. You've done well in this matter. Can I ask, what are they doing well? The second and fifth masters were confused. They really didn't do anything worthy of the fifth elder's praise. One had to know that they had brought Leng Ruoxue here to cause trouble, yet fifth elder actually praised them. What was this? The two of them were in a dilemma. However, when they saw Leng Ruoxue smiling as she stood at her original spot without saying a word, they tactfully kept their mouths shut. Men, take Leng Ruoxue away and lock her up in the prison. After complimenting him, the fifth elder loudly instructed his subordinates. He was so proud of himself. The moment Leng Ruoxue entered the Ascender Alliance's sphere of influence, he had received the news. Initially, he thought that Leng Ruoxue was here to cause trouble. At that time, he was shocked. Later on, he received news that the 5th and 2nd Alliance Masters had contacted Leng Ruoxue. At that time, he was so furious that he wanted to rush over and capture the two traitors immediately. However, he held back his anger as he was a timid person. However, he had just found out that the 2nd and 5th Alliance Masters were not traitors. They had personally captured Leng Ruoxue and brought her to the General Alliance. How could he not be happy? More importantly, at this very moment, he was completely shocked by the news of Leng Ruoxue's capture. He had completely forgotten how Leng Ruoxue had been captured. It had to be said that this was a beautiful misunderstanding. After knowing that Leng Ruoxue had come to the Ascender Alliance, Fifth Elder had been trying to keep a low profile and not take the initiative to start a conflict with her. Who asked his backer to be so drunk that he was in a mess and couldn't help him at all? Without a backer, he was nothing. Even if he wanted to deal with Leng Ruoxue, he didn't have the guts to. Fifth Elder, who had been keeping his eyes closed, only started to panic when he received a report from the guard that the 2nd and 5th Master had brought Leng Ruoxue over to the General Alliance. He definitely did not have the confidence to deal with Leng Ruoxue. Thanks, however, in the face of so many pairs of expectant eyes, he, who had only been the Alliance Master for a few days, absolutely couldn't lose face. Thus, he braced himself and brought a group of elders to the main entrance. Just as he reached the main entrance, he happened to hear the last half of Leng Ruoxue's sentence. Instantly, his heart was filled with joy. It turned out that he had misunderstood the 2nd and 5th Alliance Masters. Not only did the two of them not betray the Ascender Alliance, but they had even used some unknown method to capture Leng Ruoxue and send her to the Divine Master's residence. Very good. Very good. This was definitely a great achievement. That was why he had praised the 2nd and 5th Masters so much. He was so excited that he couldn't think of anything else. The 2nd Master and the 5th Master didn't understand why they were praised because it was different from what they had imagined. Now, when the two of them saw that the 5th Elder had ordered for Leng Ruoxue to be locked up in the prison, they were instantly anxious. The battle hadn't even started yet. Why did you lock him up first? Would Leng Ruoxue be so obedient and not resist? The two of them were speechless at Fifth Elder's words. However, after receiving Leng Ruoxue's eye signal to tell them to calm down, the two of them could only gloomily and obediently keep their mouths shut. Following that, Leng Ruoxue was sent to a prison cell by the guards arranged by the Fifth Elder. After capturing Leng Ruoxue, Fifth Elder's mind was at ease. He continued to praise the 2nd and 5th Masters, saying that they had performed very well and that he would put them in an important position. From now on, they were one of his own. After promising the 2nd and 5th Alliance Masters a bunch of empty checks, the 5th Elder sent them away. On the way out of the General Alliance, the 2nd and 5th Masters felt dizzy, as if they were in a dream. How did this happen? They had clearly not done anything and were clearly on the same side as Leng Ruoxue. However, Leng Ruoxue was now locked up in a cell while they were treated as the trusted aides of the 5th Elder. What the hell is this? The two of them were so depressed that they wanted to buy a piece of tofu and knock themselves to death. Don't play with me like this, okay? The depressed 2nd Alliance Master didn't return to the 2nd Alliance. Instead, he went to the Fifth Alliance with the Fifth Alliance Master. Sitting in the Five Unions' living room, the two sat face to face, frowning, neither saying a word. Suddenly, the Second Alliance Master slammed the table. "Damn it, how did this happen? I don't know. I don't know what we've done to make the Fifth Elder misunderstand us like that." The Fifth Master pulled his hair in confusion. The Second Alliance Master also carefully recalled that they really didn't do anything. Why was the outcome of the matter different from what they had originally imagined? A thought flashed through his mind, and he suddenly said with some uncertainty, "Didn't Miss Leng say that if we could hand her over to the people of the Divine Master's estate, it would be considered a great contribution?" The Fifth Master blinked his eyes and nodded. "I did say that, but it can't be that just because of this sentence, Fifth Elder would misunderstand, right? It's not impossible. Don't be fooled by the Fifth Elder's boisterous appearance. In reality, he's still very afraid of Leng Ruoxue. In addition, he couldn't wait for this to happen. Thus, with his imagination, we've become the people who have contributed to the battle." The Second Alliance Master calmly analyzed. As a minor character, he understood the thoughts of people like the Fifth Elder. He was ambitious, but he was not that bold. He wanted to do something, but he was too timid. In addition, the new official wanted to perform well. Thus, a huge mistake appeared. And this mistake would definitely be a disaster for the Fifth Elder. At least, the Second Alliance Master could already foresee the Fifth Elder's fate. If that's the case, what should we do next? The Fifth Master felt that the Second Master's analysis was reasonable, but what was their next step? What were they supposed to do? The Fifth Alliance Master was at a loss. Leng Ruoxue had not given them any instructions, so they could not just sit around and do nothing. "Let's wait." The Second Alliance Master, who had dealt with Leng Ruoxue before, said with experience. "All right. Just wait." The Five Alliance Masters did not have any good ideas and did not dare to act on their own. Who knew if Leng Ruoxue had any other ideas? AI. Unfortunately, he was in prison now. As for Leng Ruoxue, who was in the prison cell, she naturally had no idea about the conflict between the Second and Fifth Alliance Masters. After she was caught, she was locked up alone. This made her a little dissatisfied. Hence, the moment the guard left, Leng Ruoxue immediately took out her cold shadow and rudely broke the lock on the cell door. She then walked out of the cell as if there was no one else around and even swaggered around the cell to take a look. It had to be said that the cells of the Ascendants General Alliance could be considered clean. Although there was also some smell, it was obviously better than the other cells she had been to. She was very satisfied with the environment here. After taking a look around, Leng Ruoxue walked with elegant steps towards the cell with the most prisoners. Standing at the prison entrance, Leng Ruoxue graciously greeted the people in the prison. "Hello everyone, I'm very happy to have the opportunity to meet all of you here." Chapter 2695 Coal in the Snow 1. Hearing that someone seemed to be greeting them, the people in the cell who were deep in thought quickly raised their heads and were stunned. Leng Ruoxue. Everyone was shocked. Why would he see Leng Ruoxue here? At first, everyone thought that their eyes were playing tricks on them. However, after double-checking, they realized that Leng Ruoxue was indeed standing right in front of them. As for Leng Ruoxue's appearance, there was no way they would mistake her. Who asked this woman to be so famous in the god world? You. Why are you here? With a stomach full of questions, Li Jing asked the question on everyone's mind. When the crowd heard this question, they stared at Leng Ruoxue without blinking, waiting for her to answer. Leng Ruoxue smiled faintly when she heard that. She then said with a face full of hidden bitterness, "I was sent here by your Fifth Elder." She was implying that she had been caught. However, the people in the prison cell obviously did not believe her words. Would this little girl be caught by that idiot Fifth Elder? Wasn't this a fantasy story? It would be possible if she came to him on her own accord. Wait a minute. He delivered himself to her door. What was she trying to do? The question marks in everyone's hearts grew. Only Li Jing knew that Leng Ruoxue had come to the Ascender Alliance because of him. Otherwise, why would this little girl appear in the prison? This thought warmed Li Jing's heart. He did not expect that the one who came to their rescue after they were captured would be their enemy in name. This was truly unbelievable. However, at this moment, he heard Leng Ruoxue's voice, "Your fifth elder is too unrefined. He actually locked me up in a cell. How lonely is that? It's better to have a few companions." Hearing this, everyone was speechless. Li Jing's mouth could not help but twitch. At this moment, the only thought in their hearts was that this woman's requirements were so high that she wanted to have a companion while in prison. All right. It seemed like she had most likely come here to keep them company. Everyone was depressed, especially the Alliance Master, because Leng Ruoxue had seen him at his most depressed and embarrassing moment. That. Since you've been captured by the fifth elder, why didn't you stay in your cell? Why are you running around? Finally, an elder from the Ascender Alliance could not help but ask curiously. The prison was empty. I didn't like it, so I came out. Leng Ruoxue explained with a smile. How did you get out? An elder continued to ask. They also wanted to go out. I broke the lock and came out. Leng Ruoxue's answer was very concise. When everyone heard this, they collectively felt their balls hurt. The lock of this cell was specially made, how could it be so easy to break? One must know that they had thought of many ways these days, but they couldn't get the lock to open. Now that the lock was broken with a single word, they were so ashamed. Yes. They felt inferior. Leng Ruoxue saw that after they heard her words, their expressions were extremely conflicted, yet they didn't say a word. She felt that they didn't believe her words, so she directly took out the cold shadow and gave it a light swing. With a cold glint, the lock fell to the ground. Thanks, a crisp bang woke up everyone who was lost in their thoughts. When they looked up, they saw Leng Ruoxue holding an extremely sharp and cold sword. The lock was at her feet. Instantly, everyone's lips twitched and they were speechless. It really was smashed open. It was wrong. It was split open by a sword. What a sharp divine weapon. At that moment, everyone's eyes were fixed on the cold shadow in Leng Ruoxue's hand. They had even forgotten that they were still prisoners. Feeling the burning heat from everyone's eyes, the cold shadow in Leng Ruoxue's hand started to tremble and let out a woo-woo sound. Leng Ruoxue knew that this was the cold shadow's protest. The current cold shadow had been nurtured by her to become more and more intelligent, and it had also produced a weapon spirit. However, the cold shadow's weapon spirit was still too small and could not transform. It could only communicate with her in the simplest language, and at this moment, the cold shadow was saying that it hated the wretched gazes of these old men looking at it. He had even asked Leng Ruoxue for help. Leng Ruoxue shuddered and urgently reminded everyone, "Wake up, all of you. Don't look at my sword with such passionate eyes. It's not happy. If you keep looking, I can't guarantee that it won't attack you." Her words were definitely not alarmist talk. Everyone present could also feel the warning that the sword was sending to them. They could only look away with black lines on their heads. Seeing that they had finally calmed down, Leng Ruoxue smiled charmingly. She then opened the cell door and walked into their cell. The crowd looked at Leng Ruoxue's actions in a daze, not knowing what she was trying to do. Leng Ruoxue didn't explain further. She just walked to the empty seat beside Li Jing and sat down. What was this? Everyone's eyes were filled with question marks. Leng Ruoxue smiled calmly, then said, "Since we're all in jail, I suggest we have a chat to avoid boredom." Chat? Talk about what? Experience in prison. The people present, including Li Jing, did not feel that there was anything to chat about in this place. Furthermore, when he saw Leng Ruoxue's actions, Li Jing could not be sure if she was here to save them. She was here to save someone. Did she plan to chat with them as if nothing had happened? Who would be in the mood to chat at this time? However, Li Jing found it even more difficult to believe that she had not come to save someone and had really been captured by the Ascender Alliance. After the trip to the land of demons, he was already very clear about the strength of Leng Ruoxu's side. It was impossible for the fifth elder and the rest of the idiots to capture Leng Ruoxue. But now, these two thoughts kept appearing in his mind, and he was almost confused. What, don't you want to talk? Leng Ruoxue blinked her eyes and asked innocently when she saw that no one was saying anything. Talk about what? Li Jing had no choice but to cooperate. Let's talk about how you were caught. From my observation, the firepower of the fifth elder's side is obviously not as good as yours, but you've been locked up in prison. This is really puzzling. Leng Ruoxue laughed evilly. Then, she took out a small table, a pot of tea, a few teacups, and some freshly made desserts. Seeing this, Li Jing's mouth twitched again. He was really planning to have a tea party with them. They were really well prepared. Li Jing and the others broke out in cold sweat. Besides that, they also wanted to add that they were equally puzzled about Leng Ruoxue's imprisonment. Come. Don't stand on ceremony, everyone. It's rare for me to treat you to tea today. You know, you usually have to pay for a cup of tea from me. Seeing that no one spoke, Leng Ruoxue took it that they were embarrassed and took the initiative to greet them warmly. She even poured a cup of tea for each of them. But after hearing her words, the black lines on everyone's foreheads became even more. The teacups in front of them felt like they were burning their hands, and they didn't dare to move at all. Chapter 2696, Coal in the Snow. 2. Seeing that they didn't move for a long time, Leng Ruoxue drooped her shoulders in disappointment. There seemed to be tears in her beautiful eyes. Everyone was terrified and kept winking at the Alliance Master and Li Jing. Li Jing had no choice but to say, "We," however, he only said 2 words before he could not continue. You bastard. This little girl actually came up with this? This is too much, who can stand this? It was as if they had bullied Leng Ruoxue. I swear to the heavens. They clearly didn't do anything right. Unfortunately, just as he thought of this, Azure's displeased gaze immediately drifted over to him. Then, everyone heard Azure fire roar, damn it. You dare to bully my girl? You're really tired of living. Facing the enraged Azure, everyone was speechless. They really didn't do anything. When did he bully Leng Ruoxue? However, Song Kai didn't care so much. In its heart, if these people didn't answer Nio's question, it was their fault. Quickly explain. Azure roared again, even deliberately releasing a bit of his pressure. In that instant, everyone in the prison, except Leng Ruoxue, felt the pressure increase. Some of the weaker elders' foreheads were covered in cold sweat as they looked at Sung in fear. This little white cat's strength was so terrifying. Although he didn't know who this cat was, the tactful great elder still nudged Li Jing, signaling him to quickly explain and not make this little cat unhappy. At the same time, first elder was certain that Leng Ruoxue was not captured by the fifth elder. With this little white cat around, the fifth elder and the others were no match for him. Li Jing laughed bitterly. He did not dare to delay any further and quickly told the truth. After Leng Ruoxue heard this, she sized up Li Jing and the Alliance Master, who was silent and had a dark expression on his face, before coming to a conclusion. Looking at your appearance, you really don't look like you've been poisoned. We are unable to use divine power right now. Li Jing said honestly. Hee hee. You're so lucky, you must have been poisoned by that bitch Wu Wan. When Azure heard this, he gloated. As far as it knew, the rippling mist bitch loved to use her own poison to refine all kinds of poisons, and what these people were feeling now should only be one of them. Good luck. Li Jing was depressed. How could he not think so? Is there a way to cure it? The similarly depressed Alliance Master saw that Sung seemed to have some understanding of this poison and couldn't help but ask. There's a way. Azure smiled mysteriously. When Li Jing and the Alliance Master heard this, they immediately perked up their ears to listen, afraid that they would miss something. It can be removed by using the flower petals on the body of the mist ripple. Seeing the two of them looking forward to it, Azure smirked and added. The two of them immediately wilted when they heard that. They all knew that Rhymice was a plant, and she was a god master. How could she give them petals of her own accord? Rob? That's just daydreaming. The two thought of all kinds of possibilities, but in the end, they couldn't come up with a good idea. Sung, who knew their thoughts, confirmed, it's the petal of a mist ripple bitch. She definitely won't take the initiative to give it to you. You must know that if she drops a petal, she will lose at least 1,000 years of cultivation, so don't even think about giving it to you. But I think you can go and rob. This is the fastest and most direct way. Thanks snatching it. Wasn't that courting death? The two of them didn't comment on Sung's useless suggestion. They could even see that the kitten was clearly playing with them. Who would instigate others to do something that was impossible? What was the difference between this and seeking death? The two of them were so depressed that they almost went crazy. Who knew that Song would continue? Of course, there's still a certain level of difficulty in snatching it from you. With your current strength, it's like throwing meat buns at a dog, or sending flower fertilizer to that killjoy bitch. So, you can give up on this suggestion. He knew that they couldn't complete it, but he still told them. When the two of them heard this, they really wanted to buy a piece of tofu and knock their heads to death. How could he play with people like this? However, Li Jing seemed to have picked up on something from the kitten's words, so he humbly asked, I wonder if Senior has a better idea? There are. Azure nodded. This was the reason why he had said so much nonsense. What is it? Li Jing was a little impatient. You can buy flower petals from me. Azure had a kind expression. Ah. Does Senior have it? Li Jing could not believe it. Yes, as many as you want. Azure laughed complacently. The last time Fog had fled in a sorry state, it had left behind a lot of flower petal fragments. Any one of them was enough to detoxify them. Then can you sell us a piece? Li Jing asked carefully. Sure. Azure nodded. If it wasn't for sale, why did it make so many preparations? Do you have nothing to do? May I know how much it costs? Li Jing asked the most important question, and he knew that this was probably the cat's real purpose. Just as Li Jing held his breath and waited for the cat to make a big demand, Zhang suddenly waved a paw. Li Jing and the Alliance Master blinked. What was the meaning of this? The two of them didn't understand. Moreover, this number was not easy to guess. It could be 10,000, 100,000, or even 1,000,000. More importantly, they didn't know what the little cat wanted. You want Jingshi? Li Jing asked. Yes. Azure smiled and nodded. 100,000 top-grade crystals. Li Jing didn't dare to say that it was too low, much less too high. He only said a medium price that he and the Alliance Master could happily accept. Of course, it wasn't that they didn't value their lives, but they had just started to bargain. He had to leave some room. Azure shook his head. 1,000,000 top-grade crystals. The Alliance Master gritted his teeth. Azure shook his head again. 10,000,000 top-grade crystals. The Alliance Master's face turned white, and he wanted to cry but had no tears in his heart. Woo! He knew that the other party would not sell the flower petals for such a cheap price. Azure still shook his head. It can't be 100,000,000 top-grade crystals, right? Li Jing's face was deathly pale. Although he had a good relationship with Leng Ruoxue and the others, 100,000,000 top-grade crystals was truly too much. He was afraid that after buying that petal, their Ascender Alliance would go bankrupt. However, if it was compared to their lives and the Alliance Master's, they would have to pay even if they had to sell everything they had, let alone 100,000,000. However, who knew that after Li Jing said 100,000,000, Zhang still shook his head. Then, Li Jing offered another billion, but Zhang still didn't agree. In the end, when the price dropped to 10 billion, Li Jing and the Alliance Master's emotions could no longer be described as fear. All right. Their lives were priceless. No amount of money could buy it. This time, they had a deep experience.